Welcome to Armchair Expert, Experts on Expert. I'm Dick Rather, and I'm joined by Praniston Mouse.
Welcome.
Dick Rather, that's a rough name.
Yeah.
I can't believe I've made it this far with that name. I had to overcome it.
The adversity.
The adversity. We have talked a bazillion times since we both saw The Social Dilemma, which is on Netflix. We really were infected by, and that, of course, became a gateway drug to doing Rabbit Hole, the New York Times podcast, which we loved. And so we had an opportunity to talk to Tristan Harris, who was front and center in The Social Dilemma, and we think you will enjoy him immensely. Tristan is a computer scientist that spent 3 years as Google design ethicist, developing a framework of how technology should ethically steer the thoughts and actions of billions of people from screens. He is now co-founder and president of the Center for Humane Technology, whose mission is to reverse human downgrading and realign technology with humanity.
He's really the head honcho on this topic.
He is, yeah, he is the, what would we say?
The vanguard.
He's the vanguard. He really is. He was the first one out there really sounding an alarm.
Yeah.
And we all are in debt to this man's huge ethical moral compass. So please enjoy Tristan Harris. We get support from Quince.
So we've been talking about Quince a lot lately, and as we head into fall, it's the perfect time to reset your wardrobe with their amazing pieces. I think it's so fun to do when the seasons turn over to just spruce up your wardrobe with a couple specials, and Quince is the place.
Totally. We're talking organic cotton, Mongolian cashmere, tailored chinos from just $60. Premium fit and quality you'd expect from a luxury brand designer. I love Quince. You know, I like it understated and subtle, and I like stuff that has high quality. And Quince checks all those boxes.
I love a lot of stuff from Quince. Honestly, they have incredible premium denim, which is very important for fall. It's pretty much all I wear in the fall is denim. And Quince has such a good selection of quality denim. Their stuff is so versatile, timeless, and built to last that you just grab every single day without thinking.
Right. And all of that for 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They go direct to ethical factories, cut out the middlemen, so you get all that quality without overpaying for it.
We love that. And they do way more than clothes. They have bedding, cookware, bath essentials, travel must-haves, same deal, and great quality.
Upgrade your everyday. Download the Quince app for app-exclusive offers or go to quince.com/Dax. Get free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada and the UK too. That's QUINCE.com/Dax. We get support from Apple Gift Card. Back to school is here, and for many, that means some big life transitions. Whether they are heading into a new grade or setting up a dorm for the first time, you want to give them something that actually supports their growth and success. Apple Gift Card is a versatile solution because it takes the guesswork out of gifting. It's not just about a new pair of AirPods for focus. It's about giving them the invaluable chance to choose the digital tools and subscriptions that suit their unique journey. They can use it for productivity apps on the App Store, movie nights on Apple TV, or extra iCloud storage for all those new memories. With Apple Gift Card, it's so empowering to give the students their freedom to allocate their own resources. Celebrate their new academic chapter. Visit applegiftcard.apple.com to celebrate their milestones and gift one today.
He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert.
Hey, Dax.
How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. You know Monica Padman.
Hi there.
Hey, Monica. How you doing?
Good. So excited to have you. We've been wanting to have you on for years, I think.
I think this is years in the making.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I'm just excited to meet you, talk to you, and go through some of the many amazing things you are an expert on. First of all, I'm curious, where are you?
I am in Scottsdale, Arizona at the moment because, believe it or not, my house and everything that I owned burned down in the recent Santa Rosa fires.
No way. Oh, no.
Yeah, so I've lost everything.
Wow.
You normally live in Santa Rosa?
I normally live in the North Bay. I had moved up to Santa Rosa, which was my deceased family's home during the quarantine and pandemic. And then these fires 3 weeks ago just took everything.
Oh,
So
Oh my
sorry.
gosh.
That's awful.
yeah,
Oof.
but it's also happening in the middle of when this, film has come out. And so the most important thing I can do for the world is just keep focusing on the film. So that's where my attention's going.
Being the social dilemma.
Yeah, the social dilemma, yeah.
Okay, great. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't in the dark about another film.
We have 7 films out right now.
Oh my God, you're a
It's
mini
enough.
studio, mini major.
Yeah.
Santa Rosa is Charles Schultz country, right?
That's exactly right, yeah.
Did any of that stuff burn down? Didn't he have like an ice rink he had built and they used to have like a Christmas pageant and stuff?
I think they did, and I don't really remember everything there. The airport is named after him, the Charles Schultz Airport.
And there's cute little life-size figurines of the Peanuts characters, if I recall.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
All around Santa Rosa and downtown.
I think I have a picture of my then 2-year-old hugging the Snoopy statue. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Where did you grow up? Did you grow up in Santa Rosa?
I grew up originally in San Francisco, and when I was about 11, my mother wanted to move up to Santa Rosa to fulfill her dream of riding horses and being near the state parks.
Uh-huh.
So I went to high school up in Santa Rosa and then later back down the bay to Stanford for college to study computer science.
And what was happening career-wise for mom in San Francisco? Or are you like second-generation technology person?
No, the opposite, actually. I was the only one in my family who really even touched a computer. And I was just, obsessed as a child born in the year of the Macintosh would be. I was born in 1984, so I didn't see the Macintosh ad. But what's really interesting to loop the story back around is that the co-founder of our nonprofit Center for Humane Technology is Asa Raskin, whose father, Jeff Raskin, invented the Macintosh project, or started it at least at Apple.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah, and my life has been largely defined by, I think, the impact of, the Macintosh on my early childhood. And yeah.
That's a kind of an interesting place to theoretically start, which is prior to Macintosh, and again, I'm not super savvy about this, but I will say what used to be seemingly kind of a utilitarian pursuit of people who liked making simple programs on these early computers. With Mac comes, in my opinion, a culture or a movement. It like transcends that space a little bit. Was that your experience with it? Did it feel like more of an emotional connection to that thing?
It actually did, yeah. I didn't know any of the lore behind the Macintosh, who Steve Jobs was or Andy Hertzfeld or Bill Atkinson, some of these characters who, invented and put all of this culture and soul into this computer. But it's funny because not even knowing that history, I felt this kind of weird mystical almost connection to the creativity behind it.
Yes.
And it really was, as the saying goes, and as we say in the film, that the Macintosh and the computers were a bicycle for our minds. They would be giving us kind of leverage for the kind of conceptual creativity and capacity that we could have as human beings. And that's a really optimistic view, obviously, of technology that I still believe is possible. We just went astray with these business models that kind of pulled us into this mini dark ages.
Well, and then to drill down a little bit on what you just said, which I think could be useful, is yes, the bicycle is a tool. You do a great job of describing that, meaning a tool, a rake, a lawnmower. It sits in your shed until you want to use it to perform some tasks that it's going to assist you in. And that is not how we interact with these tools, our smartphones, our computers. They are actually engaging us at all times, right? We didn't wake up necessarily with a game plan of like, you know what, let's try to get 5-6 hours on that thing today. No, it handles that for you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, it's important to state, if you go back to the Marshall McLuhan kind of theories of what is media, what is technology, and it's an extension of thinking and action. So all technologies are extending and reshaping the way we make sense of the world and the kind of actions that we might take. So a bicycle is going to change your basic sense-making and choice-making, the menu of options that might occur to your mind of where do I want to go today or what do I want to do today, because your bicycle extends that. So it's important to say that first. Yeah. However, as you said, a bicycle doesn't have an agenda about what it wants from you, right?
Right. Well, it wants you to lubricate the chain occasionally and keep the air pressure at optimum level.
I guess at some existential level it wants to survive, but it doesn't have any means of doing that except by, being able to make you care about that. But, a bicycle doesn't have an avatar voodoo doll-like model of each of us that uses trillions of data points to figure out predictively, how do I get you to drive more to places like McDonald's and less to places like parks and playgrounds, because I need to make money from you using me in a very particular way. And that's the difference, as we say in the film, between a kind of tools-based technology environment and an addiction and manipulation-based technology environment. That's the thing that's really changed that we talk about in The Social Dilemma, is that the business model of Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, et cetera, they all depend on us using it in very particular ways that involve hours a day of screen time. But that's not really the core harm. I'm sure we'll get into this more. It's really the kind of the erosion of the life support systems that make up a society, that make a society work, because we need our mental health. We need a common view of reality. We need shared facts and truth.
Yeah.
We need to have a basic compassion for each other. And each one of those dimensions of our society are things that are not inside of the business model's interests.
Right.
And that's really why we have to change the broader system.
All right, and let's go back to the bike analogy. So yes, the bike changes culture in that you used to only be able to have lunch, I don't know, a mile away, whatever you're willing to walk. Now, going 5 miles away is an option. So because the bike has no agenda, you'll just end up at some coffee shop or some restaurant, and you'll interact with people there, and they'll be of all variety because it hasn't selected for anything. And then you might like the food or not, and then you may ride your bike to another place. But you are generally in charge of, oh, I didn't dig what was going on at that coffee shop, but I kind of liked what was going on at that one. You're still in the driver's seat. Whereas the AI bike is going to take you to a coffee shop it knows you'll like, because it's so good at predicting what you will like, because it has memorized every choice you've made over the last 10 years online, right? I think people lose sight of, we don't have 1/100th of a sense of what we are like as much as our computer does, because we don't have the capacity to even remember all the times we made decisions. But seeing all of our decisions accumulated over 10 years, it is very easy to recognize a pattern within that if you can see it from that 30,000 foot view, right? So we know 90% of the time, if you're making a choice to eat at 3 p.m. and you didn't eat at breakfast, we know pretty much you're going to the shittiest place imaginable, and so on and so forth, right? And so the bike is now telling you what you like and predicting what you will like, and it'll rule out ever giving you something you don't like, which is so often how we grow and evolve. And we don't think we like a French restaurant, but a friend drags us, and then we, lo and behold, escargot is not bad. It shouldn't be good, but by God, someone made me try it, and now I like this.
That's exactly right. And then the question is also, what is the perceptual tool that a bike looks at from us to know what we like? Because, for example, let's give the bike an eyeball, and let's give that bike an eyeball called time spent. So the only way it knows what we like is about the amount of time that we spend there. Now, let's say there's like a certain place that we could go, like the Conspiracy Theory Cafe. And whenever we go to the Conspiracy Theory Cafe, you spend 5 hours there talking to mind-blowing people who will tell you about aliens and government conspiracy theories and COINTELPRO and MK Ultra. It's fascinating, and it keeps you there for hours and hours and hours. And let's say the bike doesn't have any other way to know what you like except by the time that you spent.
It's erroneous data in that if its goal is to give you what you want isn't necessarily what you spend time doing. So first and foremost, I hope, that would be arrogant to say, but it would be great if it had gotten to you how often we talk about Social Dilemma. We just absolutely loved it. It terrified us. And we've also found a couple of great companion pieces that go along with that. I would argue Feels Good Man is a great kind of companion. Have you seen that documentary?
No, I haven't seen it, no.
It's about how the artist who created Pepe the Frog had his cute little creation that he had done many comic books with and short stuff, just got owned by the alt-right, and what role Pepe the Frog had in the last election, which is so fascinating. So that's a really good, detailed account of how this stuff can work and drive people further and further and further into an increasingly fundamental, militaristic, you name it, direction. And then, have you heard the Rabbit Hole, a New York Times podcast, Rabbit Hole?
Yep. I know Kevin very well too, yeah.
Oh, okay, great. So
We loved it.
we loved it. Like seeing your movie, then those other two, for us, call us critical mass, where we're just like, oh my goodness, wow, 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 wow. And I got to give you a lot of credit, because I do remember when you first hit the scene giving interviews. I imagine it was 6-7 years ago. When did you quote defect from Google?
Yeah, well, the internal to Google, the first presentation that I was sort of calling a moral call to arms was back in 2013 and kind of 2012 time period. But the first TED Talk and 60 Minutes piece, which is probably the biggest public exposure, was in 2017. So that was about 3 years ago.
Okay. And I remember at that time seeing you thinking many things. One, wow, this guy must have some integrity because he's most certainly said goodbye to many millions of dollars by doing this. That was kind of my first. I'm very financially driven and fearful. So that was my first thought. Second was, oh, wow, he's explained that we've transitioned into an attention economy, which at that time was a bit of an abstract premise to me. And I thought, well, how does one monetize time spent? It's still going to be a weird economy, but sure, in the Yuval Harari sense, it's all a story and whatever we buy into works. So, okay, it wasn't until I noticed Netflix started publishing, as a result of how good their platform was, how many hours had been spent watching Adam Sandler movies, right? So it was an insane amount of hours. I can't remember now, but it was in the hundreds of millions or maybe even 1 billion hours spent, whatever it was. I thought to myself, oh, wow, now I get it. Adam Sandler has a value that's very quantified because 1 billion hours has been spent staring at him. And I'm like, okay, he was right. That was about 1.5 years after I first heard you talk. And again, I still didn't understand the full implications of what you were saying. And I can't imagine that A, you knew the full implications, and then B, that you could have even told us at that time, because I didn't even understand an attention economy. So backing all the way up to you working at Google as an ethicist, right? You're in charge of what the ethics of the products are. Is that an accurate description?
Well, yeah, I mean, just to make sure I don't overstate my level of authority, I was concerned about how do you design products that are going to influence 2 billion people's attention, whether you want to or not. So you have the power of a god like Zeus, but if you bump your elbow, you might scorch half the earth if you're not really thoughtful about, where does attention really go? And there hadn't been a role or a name for what I was researching, which is what I called at the time design ethics. How do you ethically design 2 billion people's sort of, steering the nervous systems and the kind of Paleolithic cognitive biases that we have buried in our brains?
Yeah.
How do you ethically push those buttons? Because no matter what choice you make, if you use a red notification color versus a blue notification color, you're going to get very different kind of outcomes with how the human nervous system reacts. And so really the role became kind of a new field of design ethics. How do you ethically design based on a more vulnerability-centric view of the human animal?
Yes. And while you were at Google, you at a certain point wrote this document, and it's a very Jerry Maguire moment, I would say. And as you came into work, you noticed it was on many people's computers, and people were really talking about it, and they were all saying, oh my gosh, I'm so glad someone said this. We too are these are problems now we've created that are in our home. I look at my phone much too often. I'm addicted to that was your case, I think. You realized, well, I'm very addicted to my email. I can't stop checking it and interacting with it.
Which is funny, by the way, because a lot of people in the film didn't understand that line. Like, who in the world is addicted to their email? Because most people just get junk. But, maybe if you live from slightly earlier era and you...
big time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't end. It's a 24/7 news cycle.
An obligation list, right? You're always behind to get back to someone. And so if you don't actually have in your own mind a way to conceptualize what it means to be complete, then basically I've obligated you for the rest of your life because you're never going to be done getting back to all those people. And that's the thing also that I was seeing at Google back in the time was the growth rate of what was going to happen. Because at being at Google, you actually get bombarded in emails from thousands of people. You get just so much information. It felt like kind of getting a front row seat to the future where you're seeing, oh my God, what is this going to look like when everyone's getting thousands of emails and thousands of notifications? We better do something now to protect people who are going to be coming along with us. We're handing these phones out to the developing world.
Yeah.
What are we going to do to the collective attention of 2 billion people? So that's kind of where the concerns came. It felt like an opportunity. We could change this before it got too bad. And we could really make it different. And Google was in this unique position because of Android and because of Chrome as a browser, where they kind of were shaping the rules of the attention economy. We could really make a choice, almost like a government can make a choice, or a city can make a choice about what is the width of the sidewalks, and is there stop signs, and is there traffic lights,
right?
Or not for attention? Or do we just sort of let it run? There's no speed limits, there's no stop signs, everyone just go as fast as you can, and it's a race to the bottom for who can kind of get wherever you want as fast as possible, let alone if you crash into, kids or whatever you do.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what the initial effort at Google was about.
So what happened is there was much fervor at Google amongst the employees, and it had been brought up to the higher ups numerous times. And you at that moment thought, wow, this is going to really change things. And I'm very excited about this, and I'm glad it was received this way. And then virtually nothing happened, right? It just kind of passed as any super hot button topic in the news cycle would, where it's like, that's all we care about for 36 hours. And then now we don't because there's too much other shit to care about.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, think about how do you hold the attention of a company to say that the attention economy itself is important? Well, there's no external forces that are sort of driving an agenda that says, hey, this is the number one thing we've got to work on. And so while, I want to be really giving credit to Google and some of their generosity of letting me even try to work on this for several years, because there was a couple of executives who especially carved out space for me to even do that research. But it's really unfortunate that we weren't able to get anything really done. And that's what led me to realize, there's always this question, do you change things from the inside or the outside? You could be inside of Exxon and you're in charge of $1 billion budget of, oil exploration and how much investments go into renewables. If you could just change Exxon by 1%, that would make this huge difference because Exxon is massive. Or do you go to the outside to Extinction Rebellion and to Greenpeace and you try to change how Exxon operates by putting pressure on it?
Yeah.
And the same thing was true at Google, right? Like I was there on the inside and it was so seductive. If I could only change it by 2%, and then you could change how Android works for 1 billion people, that would change the world. That would be incredible.
Yeah.
And that's why I stayed for 2.5 or so years trying to do so. But I really realized that it took this external movement, both with 60 Minutes back in the day, later TED Talks, and now with The Social Dilemma, which, by the way, we just heard the Netflix numbers, I think 2 days ago. The Social Dilemma was watched by 38 million households in the first 28 days, which I think has broken records for documentaries on Netflix.
Oh.
And if you assume that many families watch the film, that's over 40 million, 45, maybe 50 million people. So it's unbelievable the kind of global public attention that this issue now has. And just to loop back with the story, 60 Minutes, that piece with Anderson Cooper called The Addiction Code, really talking about the addiction aspect of the attention economy, is what led Apple and Google to launch these digital well-being screen time features. When you look at your phone, it shows you how long did you spend on different apps, how many times did you check your phone. Those things changed because of this external pressure. So it was really a demonstration that you needed the external pressure.
And in response to having seen you on 60 Minutes, which is my all-time favorite show, I had to go out and find an actual app that would have kept track of how much time I was spending. At that time, that wasn't even an option from the manufacturer.
Well, not only was it not an option, they were actively denying that option, right? Like apps were trying to get made, but they were not letting them in the marketplace at that time.
Yeah, that's right. There's an app, actually, strangely, Tim Kendall, who's in the film, who's the former president of Pinterest and who also brought the business model of advertising to Facebook. He's that insider who's in the film The Social Dilemma. He actually now runs a company called Moment, which was one of those first companies that did let you screenshot your battery page and would reverse engineer how much time you were spending on different apps. And this is a perfect example, by the way, of why we need the technology companies to take responsibility, because we can't build our own solution to this problem. It's sort of like saying, we're building a nuclear power plant in your neighborhood, and by the way, if you have a problem, you have to go design and sew your own hazmat suit in case something melts down. That's actually what's inhumane about our current system, is we have systemic problems and we give you an individual, we put the responsibility on you, the individual. Just like, BP saying, we really care about climate change, so we built this carbon calculator, so now you can calculate how much carbon you're using, as opposed to we need to change our practices and accelerate the transition.
Yeah, that's a great analogy, right? What are you going to do? Create your own car at home? Create your own everything? Okay, I was just going to point out the irony. I love that this was stated in the documentary, which is it is both utopia and dystopia. So the notion that the problem also is getting slowly addressed on the platform Netflix is ironic, right? And I think it became clear in the rabbit hole is I don't think certainly there are some nefarious folks, whatever. But in general, I don't think there were malicious intentions with many of these things. I think many of these algorithms were created with a goal in mind that did not seem bad, but then just in practice turned out to be something else that no one could have foreseen or just did not foresee. So, and I'm also a little bit sympathetic to these companies because you want them to own it, and yet they don't want to be liable. This is where I think there's a little bit of an issue in our justice system where there's not a lot of latitude for companies to acknowledge their errors and then try to rectify the situation without having to deal with punitive damages, right? It's a little bit of a catch-22 for these companies. And I do think many of these companies are led by very ethical people.
You're getting to exactly the right point, which is, let's say you find out that your product causes mental health problems for teenagers. Well, are you ever going to proactively go out and say that, hey, we're working on reducing the mental health problems for teenagers? You're never going to say that. And then also, if working on that problem means fundamentally changing the success metrics of your company, say your Instagram, and the success is time spent, and high time spent is correlated with, teenage depression, which it is. Obviously, isolation and self-harm and teen suicide, there's some horrible metrics that have gone up with the increased use of especially sort of the teenage apps. You're not going to be able to admit that that problem exists. There's a famous writer, Upton Sinclair, said, you can't get someone to question something that their salary depends on them not seeing. And I think, you talked about how in many cases these were unforeseen consequences, but then later on, these were known consequences, but were not dealt with. And I actually think this is why the companies secretly kind of rely on outside pressure, like the film The Social Dilemma, like 60 Minutes, like many of these really hardworking activists who I know who've been in the space for a long time, the civil society orgs who are screaming at the top of their lungs, look what's happening in Myanmar, look what's happening in the conspiracy theory correlation matrix in Facebook groups, look what's happening in YouTube recommendations. It's these groups who are pushing from the outside who are driving, I think, some of the most change. At the same time, I want to say I know, and we work with regularly at the Center for Humane Technology, many of the insiders who are leading the various key products and features inside these companies. And we find really good-hearted people who are trying to do the best they can.
Yeah.
But they have kind of created a Frankenstein where once, you've steered, let's say, 50 million people into QAnon or other fringe conspiracy theory groups, the damage has kind of already been done, right? And we can get more into some of those aspects, which I think are really the most existential. There's many different societal ills that are coming from technology, but the real breakdown is our inability to have faith or trust in a shared information environment, to believe the same things and to even interpret reality in the same ways. Because as you know, with your brain, once you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And technology has sort of like Moses parted us into two different sort of hammer-seeking nails infrastructures where we have, polarized societies around the world because Facebook profits the more that each of us have our own individual personalized Truman Show reality as opposed to one shared reality that we can actually have a conversation about.
Yeah, because in the shared reality, you're going to get information you don't find that pleasing, and you're going to get information that challenges your assumptions. And most people aren't going to spend a lot of time having their assumptions challenged. It's kind of antithetical to what we enjoy about the internet.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
We get support from Skims. Oh man, do I love Skims. I've been living in the Skims lightweight cotton collection all summer, and I have to tell you, getting dressed has become so easy. I just throw it on. It just feels right immediately, whether I'm grabbing coffee or I'm on the couch all day or I'm out, even going to dinner. The cotton is so lightweight and breathable, which in this heat is a non-negotiable. The cotton jersey t-shirt, I just need everyone to know about this one. This one hugs in all the right places. It's very soft and it still looks and fits the same after months of washing, which is very hard to do, I feel, with t-shirts. I've been wearing the black cotton jersey t-shirt with basically everything all summer long. It goes great with any patterned skirt or shorts or pants. I mean, anything truly. I believe that's probably my favorite piece from the cotton collection, but they also have great lightweight cotton thongs that are so comfortable and they're cute. That is a very, very hard mix to achieve, especially with undergarments. I feel if you can find some that are cute, but also comfortable and do the job, that is a win. And Skims has really, really figured that out with the lightweight cotton collection. Shop Skims Cotton and all of my favorite pieces at skims.com. After you place your order, be sure to let them know we sent you. Select podcast in the survey and be sure to select Armchair Expert in the drop-down menu that follows.
This podcast is brought to you by Squarespace. We've talked before about Rob building our website on Squarespace, and I bring it up again because it's a perfect example of what they do well. Rob had all the pieces, the content, the vision, the ideas, but he needed something to actually take all that and make it public facing. And Squarespace was that bridge. Maybe you're in the same spot. You've been developing something, a business, a skill set, a body of work, and it's been private. It's been yours, but at some point you're ready to put it out there, and that transition from private to public can feel like a huge leap. Squarespace makes it feel like a step. Beautiful templates, built-in SEO, email campaigns, scheduling, analytics, everything you need to go from "I've been working on this" to "here it is, come find me." All in one place, no code, no stitching together a bunch of different tools. So if you've been sitting on something and waiting for the right moment, this might be it. Head to squarespace.com/DAX for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use offer code DAX to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. This episode is supported by Helix. All right, let's talk about something we both really care deeply about: sleep.
It's the most important thing. I've had my Helix mattress for years now, and I genuinely think it's one of the best investments you can make for your home. Mine still feels just like it did when I first got it.
Well, that's the thing. It's not one of those mattresses that caves in after 6 months. These things are built to last. And I'm a side sleeper. I ordered a side sleeper and I get hot, so I have cooling. And I can't tell you how much more comfortable it is to be in there, not sweating and tossing and turning.
Cooling is really important. I've read that you're supposed to sleep a little bit cold. So I also have cooling. And they have over 20 models, so it's not a one-size-fits-all situation. You just go take their quiz and they match you to what actually works for your body.
Plus, they've got cooling upgrades, which heading into summer, non-negotiable.
Truly.
Go to helixsleep.com/armchair for 20% off. That's helixsleep.com/armchair for 20% off. Make sure you enter our show name after checkout so they know we sent you. helixsleep.com/armchair. This episode is brought to you by SoFi, the all-in-one finance app where you can bank, borrow, and invest all in one place.
Let's talk bank accounts for a second. The average bank savings rate is 0.39% in interest. You're earning pennies on your savings, but it does not have to be that way.
With SoFi high yield checking and savings, the money barely making moves sitting in your savings account can earn over 8 times the national average savings rate with eligible direct deposit.
No account or overdraft fees, which feels rare these days. You can get your paycheck up to 2 days early, perfect for getting ahead of a bill or grabbing what you need right when you need it.
Plus, get up to a $300 welcome bonus when you sign up with eligible direct deposit. Sign up for SoFi checking and savings at SoFi.com/armchair. SoFi checking and savings is offered through SoFi Bank NA, member FDIC. Terms apply. So I want to quickly, if I can, in layman's terms, just explain kind of what happened with YouTube as I understand it, which is in the rabbit hole, they get this great person who volunteered to be a part of this. And I will say, in general, when I hear about a QAnon person, I'm seeing them at the end of the line, right? Or if they're a very alt-right, now white nationalist misogynist, I'm meeting them as that person. And it's hard for me to imagine that they might not have been that person 5 years ago. And so this guy turns over his entire viewing history, and you can just watch him be led, a micron at a time, further and further away from where he started. And he starts as an environmental science major. He's probably, centrist at worst or something. And just because the algorithm had figured out that it's not enough to give people what they want, you also have to give people something new, and they know if you enjoyed this thing, you'll enjoy this incremental shift over to the right. Now, again, none of this I don't think was malicious or had a bad intention, but the algorithm, once it takes off, it gets so perfect at knowing exactly where to bring you to get you to spend more and more time. And this guy kind of wakes up as a really far alt-right, misogynist extremist who is sympathetic to white nationalist movements because they have a right to be proud of themselves, and he just wakes up and goes, oh my God, who am I?
Yeah. Can I give you two more examples of that?
Yeah.
It's important to rewind the clock and realize that, we're now more than 10 years into this mass psychology experiment where 3 billion people's thoughts have been wired up to supercomputers that are steering what we all watch and look at. And as you said, no matter where you start, if you imagine a spectrum where on one side you have the calm Walter Cronkite sort of section of YouTube, calm, rational discourse, thoughtful, slow, maybe a little bit boring, but, some kind of shared water cooler reality. On the other hand, side of the spectrum, you have crazy town or extreme town. You have conspiracy theories, anorexia videos, insanity, whatever's going to keep you glued. No matter where you start, you can imagine you could start even in the calm section, or you could start in crazy town. If I'm YouTube and along that spectrum, what's the next set of videos I'm going to recommend to you? Am I going to recommend you towards the calm section, towards that section, or am I going to recommend you towards crazy town? You're always going to tilt the floor towards crazy town.
Yeah.
So if you imagine, these platforms taking the entire floor of humanity and then just tilting it by 3 degrees, several examples of this. If you were a teenage girl and you landed at a dieting video on YouTube, and maybe you even typed that in, right? You started searching for diet videos. But then YouTube's trying to calculate for that right-hand sidebar, which we should lay out one more fact for people. What percentage of YouTube's traffic comes from that right-hand sidebar of recommendations? Like if you had to guess.
Versus what you initially searched?
Yeah, versus what you search for or you pick out at the very beginning, right?
Well, I'm skewed because I listen to Rabbit Hole. Yeah, tell us.
So
Well, I don't even know. I imagine it's in the 80s or 90s or something.
So the last time YouTube released this number, because I think they got scared by how good it was, they used to be very proud of it.
Yeah.
It was more than 70% of the watch time, 1 billion hours a day.
Oh.
That's 700 million hours are controlled by what a machine is recommending. So if I told you, if AI was controlling the world, would we know? AI is controlling the minds that are controlling the information flows that go into each of us that then make up the choices that we make downstream. So it's kind of tapped into mind control happening way upstream. And that might sound salacious, but I'm sure we can defend the legitimacy that these things really have taken control. And as you said, if a teen girl watches this dieting video on the right-hand side, what does it recommend is anorexia videos, or what are called finspiration videos, because they're very good at keeping teenagers' attention for those people who look like they clicked on those. And this is the equivalent to driving down the 5 highway in LA. And, according to YouTube, if we should give you what you pay attention to, well, you're driving down and you see a car crash. So everyone's eyes, literally every car, their eyeballs veer to the right, they see the car crash. So according to these tech companies and the AI, everyone loves car crashes. We should just feed you a bottomless supply of car crashes.
Yeah.
And this is the exact way that these systems work. For parents who I think right now are, forced to have YouTube be the new babysitter, you sit your kids down to maybe watch, some videos, and they're watching World War II videos or something. And then next thing you know, it recommends Holocaust denial videos because those were really good at keeping kids' attention. And then they come to the dinner table saying, the earth is flat, the Holocaust didn't happen. And you say, why does the world feel like it's going crazy everywhere all at once? And it's really because these things for 10 years have been steering us just slowly, bit by bit, into this crazier view of reality. And I'm saying this, I know it can sound frightening or dystopian, but it's really important that if we can all collectively see that this has happened, I can snap my fingers like hypnosis and say we can wake up from this trance now. We have a very artificially inflated view of our polarization or how much we should believe conspiracy theories because this is what it's been doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I also just want to make a little bit of an analogy as a writer of movies. So if you can just think, first and foremost, it's very acknowledged that we are storytelling machines. That's how we pass on all the information that kept us alive. So we have this great, great capacity to understand, to retell, and to understand stories. Now, a principle in writing that is undeniable is you will never see a movie where you see a car chase at the beginning of the movie and then see a second car chase in the middle. The second car chase will always be longer, more spectacular, and have more explosions. And then the third car chase at the end has to be the biggest, craziest one because you have to over-deliver. You have to raise the ante each time, or us as storytellers, followers, we will lose interest. You can't go backwards. So that's another way in which these YouTube videos are hacking into something very primitive in how we think, communicate, and what we're attracted to. So I had just one part of this that I would love to just say out loud, which is I don't think I'm unique in believing that I'm in charge of my opinions and that I'm in charge of what I think is just and unjust and ethical or not. I think we all have a sense that we're really anchored in a self And I think we all dramatically underestimate just how persuadable we are. And this is kind of faux arrogance we all have, that we know who we are at our core and that we couldn't possibly be led astray. And the fact is, that's just not the case, right? You had many classes on persuasion at Stanford. Could you just kind of give us a sense of how fallible and vulnerable we are to persuasion?
Before we get into the fallibility and vulnerability, which we always talk about and is really an important frame, I mean, the biggest, most obvious example of us not choosing our own thoughts and our own contents of our own minds is the fact that we speak in a language that we didn't choose to speak in. I don't speak English because I chose that. I speak English, and the accent that I have, there's actually a great New York Times thing where if you just answer 25 questions about which words you use about various objects in our environment, it'll actually pinpoint the exact zip code that you live in. Because the word choices are that specific to our geography that literally with something like 20 questions of which words you would use about various objects, like what do you call the dividing line in a street or something like that, or what do you call, the access lane or these kinds of things, they can actually pick the exact place that you live, which speaks to the fact that, we are all operating with accents and dialects of language that we didn't choose. We just grew up in the spaces that we did. But on the persuasion front, my background originally, as a kid in San Francisco with my mother, she would take me to the magic shop. And I was really fascinated by magic because even as a child, you could do something that adults didn't understand how the trick worked. And I found that fascinating.
You did a really impressive bit of coin work in Social
we enjoyed
Dilemma.
that. I love magic.
She's so horny for magicians.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I'm super into magic.
Yeah.
We had one at my birthday this year.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. I feel so lucky to be able to have gotten to know certain magicians I've had such a huge, magician crush on for a while, like whether it's Apollo Robbins or Darren Brown over the last couple of years. It's just astonishing when you really see the level of craft in a magician knowing something about how other people's minds make meaning that other people don't know about themselves. That's what makes the illusion work, is the fact that there is an asymmetry of knowledge. If the asymmetry of knowledge wasn't there, that I know something about you that you don't know about yourself, if you knew the thing that I know, then the trick doesn't work.
Right.
And magic is a very visceral experience of all of us being influenceable. Maybe it's been a while since a listener out there has seen a magic show, but I actually was recently at the Magic Castle down in LA before coronavirus hit. And, even being a magician myself, you still are just blown away by the craft of what these people can do. And later, I studied at a class at Stanford called the Persuasive Technology Lab or Persuasive Design course, which originally is really about how to use persuasion for good. Like, how do you embed persuasion into technology? For example, could you help people, build habits for going on exercises or for cheering up their
Was
friends?
this
BJ
BJ Fogg's
Fogg?
class?
This is BJ Fogg's class, yeah.
We interviewed him. What a sweetie pie. We like him.
He's wonderful, and there's a false narrative out there that somehow we are enemies or something like that.
Oh, he spoke highly of you. He said, two of the people he was most proud to have had in his class, you were one of them.
Yeah.
It was you and the Instagram guy, or you guys were in the same class,
Yeah.
right? And how bizarre that is.
We were, yeah. I was in the class with the co-founder of Instagram, Mike Krieger, who's been a very close friend of mine. And there's actually a photo of the three of us at South by Southwest in 2011, which felt like a very historic photo somehow in that weird moment when it was taken. But, just to complete that story, Mike and I, before he built Instagram, we worked on a project together in that persuasion class called Send the Sunshine, which was about, in periods of bad weather, people get something called seasonal affective depression disorder.
I have it. Self-diagnosed, but I definitely have it.
Yeah.
I have it today. It's cloudy here.
I think she has a biological component, having come originally from India, where there's a lot of sunshine.
Evolutionary.
Yeah, because some of my other Indian acquaintances suffer from it in a disproportional level. This is an armchair anthropological observation, but please continue.
Well, our environment really matters in terms of how uplifted we feel and the cleanliness of our room to the weather outside. So this project was basically, and this is, keep in mind, back in 2006, even before the iPhone. So it's kind of a futuristic idea, which was, let's say you have two feature phones, and in one of the zip codes, the weather service just knows that you live in a zip code where you've had bad weather for 5 or 6 or 7 days in a row. What it does is it texts your other friend and says, hey, your friend Dax has had bad weather. Do you want to take a photo of the sunshine? Because we know you're in a zip code with good weather.
Oh, wow.
And send some sunshine to him. And so you get this view of this kind of puppeteer who's trying to orchestrate something really positive, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to orchestrate compassion or love or thinking of you kind of vibes, right? And so this is an example of persuasive technology that could be used to help bring people like a little bit closer together. You might even say, to make sure we're charitable and even-handed with Facebook, that the birthdays feature is reasonable, right? I mean, to be able to know there's this one day a year you get to celebrate your friends, and it's helpful to have computers remind us and tell us what those days are. That's persuasive technology. And you start to realize that persuasion is kind of everywhere. It's, our world is a choice architecture. The height of shelves in a supermarket controls what we look at and how often we buy some things over others. The fact that when you're at the end of a grocery store line and there's that last, bit of chocolate and sweets and gum and things like that,
End caps.
End caps, yep.
Yeah.
And so our world we are living already in physical choice architectures, physically persuasive environments. But if you now put the phone in our hands, this phone totally reshapes the menu of choices that we are picking from. And it provides, in any moment of anxiety or boredom, an instant excuse. You always have something sweeter on life's menu you can choose, which is to look at your phone rather than be with yourself. Mm-hmm. When we had Thich Nhat Hanh, who's the famous spokesperson for world peace and for mindfulness, he's a Zen Buddhist monk who's passed away, I believe, recently from Vietnam. And we brought him to Google. And the way he described his concerns about technology is that it's never been easier to run away from ourselves.
Yeah.
Because these things provide an infinite excuse for a quick hit of pleasure or novelty, which is way more satisfying than the discomfort of whatever is plaguing us, when the lights go down.
The stupid example I give is my wife and I went to this hotel for 2 days. And I just said on the way up, I'm not going to look at my phone for 2 days. First day, I was like bored, agitated, grumpy. Second day, I found paper and some pencils. And I drew all day and I loved it. And I was like, oh my God, when's the last time I just sat and drew? And it was like immediate, right? And I was shocked at my own level of being satiated by the never ending blinking machine.
Yeah, I had a friend who had created something called Camp Grounded, which was actually an experience for 3 days, which revolved around unplugging from your phone, but it was much deeper than that. When you arrived at this camp, there was 3 people in hazmat suits who would come up to you and take your phone and put it in a plastic sealed bag along with your driver's license. And they would do this whole ritual to kind of take it away. And then they give you a new name for the weekend. So if your name, is Tristan, then my name would be Presence for the 3 days that I'm there. And then the entire time that you're there, everyone has a different name. You can't talk about work. There's no technology and there's no time. So everyone also takes your watch away. Because time is also an interesting thing, that it's a technology that really restructures our relationship to pressure and attention and things. So you don't have a watch. You can't talk about time. You can't talk about work. You don't talk about age. And you just have a new name. And so you kind of get to see, who am I when everything is just taken away? And it's very uncomfortable. And people have these brief moments of kind of feeling anxious and everything, but then it becomes this kind of freeing human experience where
was
everyone...
it an orgy by day 2? I have to imagine everyone just started fucking like the first original Game Boy.
That's an interesting, it didn't go in that direction.
Maybe
a different redwood forest would have steered people differently. But it's actually amazing, because when there's no competition for attention, everyone cares a lot more about each other and gets to be a lot more curious about each other, because there's nothing else.
The other people are the source of entertainment at that point.
Yeah, it turns out people are really interesting if you actually have the patience, and not just one way, but both people have the patience to get curious about who each other are.
To your point earlier, you don't have this endless bit of homework, which is your email, all the responses you owe, and you don't have this pressure of what's supposed to happen at this time and that time. Yeah, there's a lot that goes away right there.
Completely, yeah. And this experience was created by Levi Felix, who was an amazing human who unfortunately passed away a few years ago from brain cancer. We were actually the same age. Yes. But he created these weekends at Camp Grounded where hundreds of people had totally life-changing experiences. And it wasn't just from the disconnection of technology. It's about reconnecting with what it means to be human, including being in a redwood forest, with other people.
Your next story you tell, if the person dies at the end, that'll be the third strike, okay? Because that was back to back.
No more allowed.
The Buddhist monk. The Buddhist monk passed.
Oh,
yes.
I forgot about that, yes.
Or at least tell a couple where people are still thriving. Okay, so I have some thoughts. I rewatched it this morning while I was working out, and just one sentence again I want to repeat that's so profound. that people should really ask themselves, which is, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. I feel like that's the easiest way to assess what's happening. It's kind of the old poker table saying, if you can't recognize the fish, you're the fish. That's a powerful way to think about this, right? And I've heard of people who concentrate on in your field talk about this kind of fork in the road we had, which was we made a decision to either pay for this service or to receive it for free from other people who would be footing the bill, which would be advertisers and this and that. So we didn't choose the paid version. Of course, I'm in a position where I could pay for the paid version, and I would like the paid version, but it is inherently a little undemocratic, isn't it? If that were it would just exacerbate the income inequality. How would we get around that? Is that part of what a potential solution could be? Is one that we picked that had a set of ethics, and then we had to pony up and pay for it?
Yeah, well, maybe first for the audience, it might be good to explain why, when we are the product, this is such a unaffordable outcome. One thing we like to say is free is the most expensive business model we've ever come up with, because when the product is free, as you say, we are the product being sold. And specifically, Jaron Lanier is very quick to point out in the film that the subtle, imperceptible change in our beliefs and behavior and identity, that is the product. So the ability to shape just by 1% or 0.1% what we're thinking, feeling, and doing, that ability to shift someone is the very thing that's being sold.
Wait, don't go further for 1 second. That's a big concept that I want to set in. And yes, I think a lot of us have a kind of baseline understanding that we're the product in that we're being advertised to and we're going to go spend money and buy these products. But that's incomplete, is what you're saying, and that there is something more dangerous on the table, which is not only will you buy this product, but I can change your mind about this product, whatever that product may be. That could be a political product, that could be anything. And that the real value for anyone that would invest in this is to lead the world somewhere they would want them to be led.
That's right.
Yeah.
The ability to shift minds. Now, when I say this, a lot of people might think, well, I'm not influenced by advertising, right? Not just some people. Almost everyone believes that they're not influenced. There's something called the Dunning-Kruger effect, where everyone believes that they're better. I think 90% of believe that they're better than average drivers, but of course that distribution doesn't work out.
Also, the Dunning-Kruger, also the stupidest person talks the most, right? That in general, that's part of the Dunning-Kruger.
Yeah. There's so many aspects of the ways that we overestimate our capacities. But this is critical, that it's not just about the advertising. Facebook's incentive is you are more profitable when you are addicted, anxious, polarized, attention-seeking, outraged, and disinformed than if you were actually a thriving citizen of our democracy. Because in each of those cases, you're spending time on the platform, right? If you are not addicted, you're not worth as much as someone who's addicted. If you're not anxious, that causes you to check in more often with an unconscious habit, you're not as profitable as someone who is anxious, who's checking in. If you're not attention seeking, like you don't care about the number of people who looked at the video that you posted and how many comments it got, you're worth less if you're not attention seeking than if you are attention seeking. So each of these cases, we are worth more if we're domesticated into a certain new kind of human. You can think of it as just like we domesticate cows. I'm sorry if this feels disgusting to people, but I think it's important to really make sure the metaphor lands. That just like we don't have regular cows anymore or wild cows, we have the kinds of cows that give us the most milk and give us the most meat because that's the kind of cow that fits our economy. Well, we are becoming the kind of human that is, shorter attention spans, more addicted, more distracted, more outraged, more polarized, more attention seeking, and more disinformed because each of those things are part of what makes the companies more money. Again, not because anyone at Facebook twists their mustache and says, this is how we're going to make all this money. But the machines supercomputers that they point in our brains to calculate what thing can they show us and how quickly can they show it to us. And should it autoplay or should it wait 5 seconds or should we make people hit reshare for, instantly, or should we have them wait and meditate on a mountain and then share only when they know if it's true? All of the worst aspects of society are more profitable than the best aspects of society, which is actually what puts each of us in the same boat as human beings. Like the good news is no one wants this system because it's an economy based on cannibalizing our own life support systems that make us real human. whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, or you're a child or an 80-year-old, each of us are in the same boat together because it's really our lower level human instincts for each of us.
Well, and once we're suffering, we start seeking comfort. And we generally, when suffering and feeling fearful, seek comfort in the quickest, easiest, most disposable ways that, of course, then impact even more suffering. And, it's like the sugar spiral circle people get in, or the lack of exercising leads to less exercise. All these things, we seem to always be spiraling up or spiraling down.
That's exactly right. And I think a humane technology world is one in which you get virtuous cycles where more virtuous behavior creates more virtuous profits, creates more virtuous behavior, creates more virtuous habits, creates more virtuous ways of living, creates a more virtuous society. And so what we're looking for, as you said, is not these sort of downward spirals of human downgrading, which is the more the machines get smarter at predicting our behavior and manipulating us and making us more predictable, they make more money, so they get to bigger machines that can better predict our behavior, and then sort of a vicious loop of they get increasing power and we have become more predictable. Let's reverse that so that humans become more free, more wise, more thoughtful, more virtuous, and the machines are more in service of us as opposed to using us as the resources to be mined.
Here's where we get into some big philosophical issues with all of this, which is we live in a capitalist market economy. How do you incentivize that? How could that ever be incentivized?
Well, I think this now gets to the question you were asking about, hey, we could have paid subscription models for these products. Like, how much have people paid, your listeners paid for a Facebook account recently? Nothing. But how are they worth $750 billion? Because obviously our attention is the thing that's being strip mined for profit. So if the business model instead was subscription, we pay $10 a month, let's say.
Yeah.
It's important to say that I think, for basic phone service, it's not free either. We have to pay for a network, for access to a network.
Yeah.
So this is really not a radical idea. For Netflix and peak entertainment with Netflix and the rise of, say, Game of Thrones, we get Game of Thrones and we pay for subscription television instead of the kind of race to the bottom for clickbait. So what we're really paying for is a world that we want to live in. Now, obviously, anytime you have a paid access economy, it introduces inequalities. We want to make sure that we're equalizing. However, to say that we want to equalize what we have now is like Coca-Cola saying, well, how else are we going to give the entire world diabetes if we don't, use sugar? Right?
Can't wait for the diabetics to come after you. I'm on their hit list.
We're delivering the wrong product. We have to make sure that we're not delivering garbage that downgrades human civilization so we can't actually survive as a species. We want to deliver ubiquitously and democratically the kind of self-reinforcing, virtuous, humane technology that actually has our interests at heart.
I thought of something today while pounding the bench press and listening to your movie. Has anyone thought about this technique? Now, there seems to be an agreed upon analysis of happiness in that the UN always rates Sweden as number one, and God knows what's the last place one. There seems to be some pretty dependable metrics we can measure happiness, right? And we can measure suffering. We can measure, on some level, flourishing. Why isn't there an independent government agency that studies what a year on a platform results in? So let's say that every one of these platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, from the day you joined, 1 year later, you would be asked a series of questions, and then they would give all of these different products a rating. So people are going to get 30% more miserable. If I see that as I'm signing into Facebook versus I go to Instagram and let's say I get 2% happier, I feel like that would be the equivalent of putting ingredients on labels and putting caloric intake and fat count and all that. No one has a sense of whether this thing's going to make them more miserable or not. And I trust that people wouldn't pick a product that's going to make them more miserable. How could that work or work in tandem with something?
Yeah, well, this is definitely a line of thinking that people have gone down. It's a really important one. I think we have to make sure we're setting the right goalposts for what our objective is. So if the goalpost is happiness, the brave new world that Aldous Huxley conceived of, where everyone has soma and pleasure, a world where we're all just getting happy is not a world where we necessarily solve climate change, deal with racial injustice, or, make a more equal and fair society. Obviously, a world where Facebook is delivering happiness in that way might just be kind of amusing ourselves to death or sort of distracting us. So I think what we need to make sure is that our technology environment, if we set the right goalposts, conditions humans to have the kind of capacities that can solve our most pressing problems, including having the well-being, mental health, relationships, and connection that enable us to be full and thriving.
Would require people to trust science, which is more and more. There are many, many people who are, as a part of those metrics, is purpose, is community, is, not just, I'm on 2 hits of ecstasy and you gave me a lollipop measure of happiness. But again, if there was one we could agree upon that was truly flourishing and using all the cognitive behavioral things we now know. And sorry, please continue.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I mean, so you quickly kind of reverse engineer Maslow's pyramid and you end up with, okay, how do we make sure technology is enabling the kind of full, holistic, thriving, flourishing, and embodiment of our wisest values? But then you quickly enter in this kind of abstract philosophical conversation about what does it mean for us to be, so wise, and how do we know that we're flourishing? And can Facebook, or should we wait for technology to deliver on all those benefits? Shouldn't humans also have the capacities intrinsic in themselves to achieve their own ends and so on?
Can I interrupt you for 1 second? Because it is a point you made earlier in the documentary, which is, it occurred to you at one point, wow, not only are 2 billion people being affected by this, but they're ultimately being affected by a handful of 25 to 30-year-old white males. And so there's in anthro, we say naive realism. There's a tendency to believe that your hierarchy, your Maslow pyramid, and your culture is one that would transcend, when in fact, if you're an anthro person, that's not true. So yeah, you're designing something, or my suggestion would be implicit in it, assuming other cultures would want our Maslow pyramid.
And that's exactly what we've seen as a kind of digital colonialism, especially since these companies, especially Facebook, with its free basics program, has gone into countries like Myanmar or Ethiopia and made a deal with the telecom provider. So if you're getting your very first phone, you've never been on the internet, your phone comes with Facebook. That's the deal that they do with the telco provider. And you get Facebook access free, but everything else costs money. And this creates an asymmetry where now Facebook has crowded out competitors and alternatives, and people's first experience with the internet is Facebook. There is no HTTP:, there is no www. There is no learning about security or how to type in usernames and passwords. All of that goes by the wayside, and Facebook has colonized with their view of reality, with their white males mostly in California, choosing the ways that everybody else lives by. And that has had enormous negative consequences.
Well, and you say in the doc, they think that's the internet. They think the actual internet is just Facebook.
That's exactly right. And it's important because in some of these countries that they do these deals with free basics, like I think in Ethiopia, there's at least six major languages. And I'm pointing out Ethiopia because many people are looking at it as kind of Myanmar number 2, meaning sort of a second at-risk country because of fake news that's spreading and driving up civil conflict. And so you end up in a place where, with all these different languages, do you think that Facebook has content moderators for the 6 different major languages of Ethiopia? For the hundreds of dialects on different continents, do you think they have content moderators for that? So if you think YouTube recommending some conspiracy theory, Holocaust denial thing in English is bad, but then later YouTube takes the whack-a-mole stick and they'll whack some of the bad apples. That's because they have content moderators that are paid to do that in that language. Now you open it up to Facebook managing 80 elections around the world in a given year, and you have hundreds of languages and dialects, especially developing countries where they don't have nearly the same level of attention as we're now having here in the US with the US election, where there's obviously war rooms set up within Facebook and Google to try to deal with adversarial threats. We're entering into a period where this is an unprotected infrastructure, and the kind of bullies tend to win. The worst of us, the hate, the outrage, the accusations, the black and white thinking, the incivility, the dehumanization of speech, dehumanizing kind of speech, that's the stuff that gets the most clicks, which then makes up the default information environments of these places. I'm sorry to be so dark, by the way. It's really important that people get, I think,
the real world outcomes of this.
That's right. And it's much bigger than addiction and time spent, right? I mean, we're talking about the fabric and survivability of every society.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
This episode is brought to you by ServiceNow. Look, I have my dream job. I get to talk to folks I admire like crazy and ask them virtually any question that I want to. I can't imagine a better way to spend my time. But even dream jobs have some not so dreamy parts, the stuff that gets in the way of the actual work. Now, that's where ServiceNow's AI specialists come in. They don't just tell you what you should do about your busy work. They actually do it, start to finish. Cases closed, requests handled, no extra work for you. So you and your team can focus on what matters most, which for me is, are they obsessed with male bodies on the same level as I am?
They never are.
To learn how to put AI to work for people, visit servicenow.com. We are supported by Walden University. You know that feeling when you've been thinking about making a move, going after the degree, the promotion, the thing you keep telling yourself you'll get to someday? Walden University is built for that moment. For over 50 years, Walden has helped working professionals get the W, the knowledge, the skills, and the confidence to create real change in their careers and communities. Their programs are designed around your life, not the other way around. With Tempo Learning available in select programs, there are no rigid schedules or set weekly deadlines. You move at your own pace. And Walden's faculty aren't just academics. They're practitioners who bring real-world experience into everything they teach. From your first class to career coaching and beyond, Walden is your partner the whole way. Take the first step and learn at a pace that works for you. Visit waldenu.edu. Walden University. Set a course for change. Certified to operate by Chev. This episode is brought to you by the new Max original comedy series, Stuart Fails to Save the Universe. From the world and creators of The Big Bang Theory comes a new comedy series. Stuart Bloom, comic book store owner and lovable underdog, accidentally breaks a device built by Sheldon and Leonard and kicks off a full-blown multiverse Armageddon. Now, he's on a mission to put reality back together alongside his girlfriend Denise, a geologist named Bert, and physicist Barry Kripke. Along the way, they're running into alternate universe versions of characters you already know and love. Check out the new Max original comedy series, Stuart Fails to Save the Universe, now streaming exclusively on HBO Max with new episodes Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Subscription required.
Thank you to our presenting sponsor, HP, for supporting this episode. Parents, you've got enough on your back-to-school list right now. Ink cartridges do not need to be on it. They just don't. The HP Smart Tank printer uses a refillable ink tank and comes with up to 3 years of ink included. It's the last printer you'll ever need. To learn more, search HP Smart Tank.
Yes, and so you just kind of touched on one of my fears when I have a pessimistic view of all this, which is, wouldn't it be impossible to have human ethical oversight of any of this? Because the volume of information and the users is just so great that no company or government agency could ever monitor it. Only the AI can be handling the volume and processing it. And so I hate to be nihilistic about it, but I just don't know how the volume's just so great. It's almost like I would compare it to the Department of Homeland Security. It's like, with the Patriot Act, they start gathering all this data of all these phone calls and blah, 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 and people are worried about it. But in practice, who gives a shit? No one's around to synthesize all this. No one can go through all this data. It's just collecting it for the sake of collecting it. There's no human apparatus that could possibly monitor it.
Yeah, so you're getting to this critical, possibly underneath, kind of the paradox that's underneath all this, which is that the premise of doing this, managing our attention, our information with technology, is that we automate it, meaning we have machines choosing what we see, because it would cost a lot of money to hire editors, paying them $100,000 a year to pick what's true, credible, or real. And the whole premise of the business model, one thing I might share that I don't think I've talked about in any other interview is I actually worked with Jimmy Wales, the founder of Wikipedia, for a period earlier in my life, in my career, when I was just finishing computer science at Stanford. And I worked with him on his for-profit Wikipedia spinoff called Wikia. And Wikia was the idea that, they would do Wikipedia, but more like if you went to a library, you would have the encyclopedia section, that's Wikipedia. But then you have the rest of the library in the magazine rack, meaning people writing their own content, just like Wikipedia, where you have regular people filling in not just articles that are encyclopedic, but maybe the Lost Wiki or the Wikipedia, Star Wars Wiki.
Yeah.
And the premise of why I'm bringing this up is because this was an attractive business model because we, the regular humans, are the ones doing all the writing for free.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Notice that no one who writes Wikipedia gets paid for writing Wikipedia.
Yeah. Similar to YouTube as well. Yeah. They're just creating content. Yeah.
Exactly. And so the brilliance of these business models, what makes these companies so profitable is that there are no editors. There are no content creators or journalists that you have to pay to go to journalism school and have a media ethics background and double check and do the right journalistic protocol. You can just get 15-year-olds to basically put on makeup in front of YouTube channels and make $10,000 a month, and that becomes the new normal for teenage girls. So the premise here, as you've said, is let's say you're Facebook and you've got trillions of items of content rushing through your system. They would have to hire thousands and thousands and thousands, if not, millions of content moderators.
Can I add one stat in there? Yeah. In the wormhole one, I forget the exact number, but it's very close to this. In a single day of global YouTube viewing, it would amount to 114,000 years of content.
Wow. So the principle in computer science here is there's just way more information that is causing consequences than there is monitoring of what is inside of that information or what consequences are being created. So that's like a car that is driving faster than your steering wheel, than your eyeball can keep track of how many people you're running over, how fast it's going, and how many stop signs you've bashed into. Your eye works more slowly than your car is knocking stuff down.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is that Facebook is this kind of Frankenstein where it is creating, again, some positive consequences. Let's remember the organ donors and the blood donors and the families reconnecting and high school relationships you haven't seen after 20 years. That's fine. But there's also just this unmitigated harm that they really don't have control over. And that's why we're really in this, why we, I think, called the film, and the directors and filmmakers called the film The Social Dilemma, because it is a deep dilemma that we are now living infused with these systems, these social systems, that are running our digital habitats. These are the places that we spend hours of our lives now. They're not just products we use. They're the habitats that we use to make meaning of, how bad is Portland? Is it a war zone of people shooting each other? Or is it just 2 blocks in a city and it's a beautiful, peaceful day? The way we know the answer to that is by looking through the tiny, binoculars of social media glasses, right?
Yeah.
And as these things have infused themselves with our way of making meaning and saying what is going on in the world, if it's causing more consequences than they can ever get a handle on, we have to take much more radical actions about what we can and can't have in our information society. And first of all, as a society, become conscious that this is even happening, which is why I think the film was so important to make that.
Well, I think that's happening. I think this is becoming slowly comparable to the awareness that smoking cigarettes gives you cancer. That took decades and it was slow, but people seem to really understand that. So I do feel like the awareness variable in the equation is happening. My fear is the horse cannot be put back in the barn.
This metaphor of putting the genie back in the bottle or the horse back in the barn obviously comes up. There's actually one time in history where we did put not the genie, but the pill back in the bottle. And this was in the history of Johnson & Johnson Tylenol, where there was...
Oh, Tylenol.
Yeah. Well, so in the 1980s, there was poison that was being put into Tylenol, whatever you call it. It wasn't the capsule, it was the jar, I think. And there was poison tampering. And so some people were dying because of Tylenol, carrying these tampered with poison tablets or something. And Johnson & Johnson had a choice. They could have said, there's no problem. Deny, deflect, delay. Tylenol's fine. Keep buying it. We're sure it's safe. They could have said it's not happening. They could have said, look how much we're doing to try to remove, it sounds familiar with Facebook. And they didn't do that. Instead, what they did is they did actually say, we are going to take this off the shelf until we can prove that it's safe. And they took it off the shelf for, I think it was something like 5 or 6 weeks. You can look it up on Wikipedia. And of course, what happened was their stock price tanked in the short term. But then, because they had done a high trust action where they were honest with the American public about what was actually going on, after they invented the tamper-proof top, which is why they invented that tamper-proof top for the jar, that's when people trusted them afterwards. So that's, I think, the model that we could apply for here. So in Twitter's case, for example, we're about to go into a U.S. election. There's groups like Accountable Tech and others that are pushing for us to ask Twitter to untrend October. So basically just say the trending topics is a completely gameable machine that it only takes a few thousand bots or 100 10,000 people to what's called brigade, where you all simultaneously post about a topic that you want to get the media to cover.
This is how the Fire Festival got popularity, is they all posted this yellow image or something at the same time.
That's exactly right. And so this is very gameable. And so if you want to assert, and keep in mind, if you were a KGB agent in the 1980s or 1990s, 1/4 of your time was dedicated to inventing fabricated stories that would be very plausible, that would take down your adversaries. So imagine the kind of practice adversaries have when 1/4 of their time is coming up with plausible stories that are already confirming your existing biases.
Have you seen this HBO 2-part doc about the troll factory and how they came to be so effective? And
yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but I know he did the one on Scientology called Going Clear, which I think has tremendous parallels to what we're talking about.
Yeah, it was originally basically designed to just alter how people felt about Russia. And then, of course, they found a great application for it in the Ukraine and in Crimea. And then now they realize they have this incredibly powerful tool, and now they just, deploy it everywhere. And you recognize just how sinister, how effective, how few people are required. That's one of the scariest aspects. There's only a floor full of people doing this. So it's highly gameable, as you say.
So it's incredibly gameable, and it doesn't take that many resources. We just did an interview on our podcast called Your Undivided Attention with someone from the Institute for Strategic Dialogue, where they actually said, how much would it cost if we wanted to run an influence campaign that would reach every single user online in Kenya using like Facebook or Twitter? And the answer is less than a cost of a used car. So it's about $10,000. Yeah. In other words, if you want to run an influence campaign and you're from one of the Western wealthy countries, for chump change, you can basically reach the entire world. And that's what we're seeing in many different countries in the Southeast Asia and the African continent. Is actually Russia, and the same IRA troll factory has actually been running campaigns in something like 7 major African countries to try to influence public affairs there and elections, which is incredibly cheap. Yeah. And I think one way to think about this is, while we in the US are obsessed with protecting our physical borders and building walls and spending something like $1 trillion to revitalize our nuclear fleet and our physical security, we left the digital borders wide open.
Yes.
Because how much of our economy and our society run in the physical world, like our physical antennas or electricity grids or roads, those are all protected by passport controls, and the Department of Defense will shoot down a plane from Russia or China that try to come in. But if they try to fly an information plane into the United States, they're met by a white glove with the Facebook algorithm that says, exactly which zip code would you want to target?
And they can now get us to, quote, pick what they want, which is far crazier than being invaded,
Exactly. It's not as if they're trying to actually bomb us. They actually go get to talk. There's actually evidence recently from about a year ago of Russia going into former U.S. veterans groups from the Vietnam War, and they had pages with more than 200,000 followers where they're able to sow discontent among U.S. veterans. Now, so the equivalent of this, when you really think of the mismatch of our defense industry, like the military, industrial, and national security and intelligence communities have been really struggling with this, because as we have virtualized our country, as we have made our country work in the digital world primarily and less in the physical world, we essentially lose all the security protection. So it would be like you're a bank and you spend $1 trillion hiring physical bodyguards, these super buff guys that surround your entire bank. And meanwhile, you set your computer system with the default password that's lowercase password. You don't change the default password. And anybody can hack in. What matters more, surrounding your bank with the physical bodyguards or letting the default computer system be wide open for hacking? And that's exactly what our adversaries see Facebook and YouTube and Twitter as. They leave the back doors to our countries wide open for attacking. They're just doing it all in the culture war space. And I think, again, as you said, the key here is to recognize, first of all, that this has happened to us, almost like we've been bombed by a business model. But this
it's
is
not theoretical.
Pearl Harbor. It's not theoretical. This has really happened to us.
Yeah.
And that we really have an urgent, not just, mental health need here or a teenager's issue or addiction issue, but a national security issue.
Yeah.
That we have to fix this problem incredibly fast. And to your point, though, these are the richest companies in the history of humanity. And so if they could, spend billions and billions and billions of dollars, whatever it takes, to try to address these problems, that's what we need them to do. And right now, hiring 30,000 content moderators between Arizona and the Philippines is not a solution to this problem.
Well, it's going to have to be another algorithm that we put some faith in, and then it too will have some unintended outcome that we'll have to then adjust yet again, I imagine. Just the capacity can only be met by the technology, ironically. I do want to ask two more philosophical questions. One is, there is a Darwinian argument to be made here, which is that if we require all these American companies to do this, all that's going to happen is the many other foreign companies that make these products are going to have this huge advantage over us, and they're going to get way more of our attention because we can't compete with the algorithm. So, it is a daunting proposition to go first, right? And I know this is a shitty argument, and it's used in the environmental arena, which is like, well, why would we not have a ton of CO2 emissions if everyone else is going to? We live on the same planet, so until they go. So some of this is like, who's going to go first? And certainly some people will have a Darwinian advantage over us.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And ever since the beginning in 2013 at Google, this is the concern that we always brought up, is it is a game theoretic challenge. If I don't do it, the other guy will. The U.S. says we're not going to build semi-autonomous AI drone war weapons, and we try to sign a treaty with China to say you're not going to build the AI drone weapons either, but then secretly I'm going to build them and you're going to build them because I don't actually trust you, and you race into a game theoretic escalation. But at least in that case, you have mutually assured destruction. In this case, let's say you have companies, like you said, we have a humane social network that doesn't depend on unchecked virality and the fame lottery and the promise of sort of attention-seeking narcissism that powers our exact social media system today.
That felt personal, but continue.
Oh, no, definitely no, not intended. I think the idea is, can we have a social media infrastructure that is for the people, by the people, that is really in the democratic interest? And that will be heavily competed by an unregulated social media that appeals to, you'll reach, millions more people with it. You'll get way more positive feedback. You'll get Snapchat beautification filters, like, enhancements. You'll do all of the kind of Las Vegas enhancements that kind of reach deeper down the brainstem.
And we can use the real-time example, TikTok. So TikTok is now competing with all these other platforms, and it was on Rabbit Hole. It took PewDiePie a decade to get to 100 million followers, and now with TikTok, someone had 60 million in, 3 months, whatever it is. So again, this isn't theoretical. It's happening currently.
That's exactly right. And the curve shortens every year, right? Where the number of years it takes or months that it takes for someone to go from 0 to 100 million followers, the companies are competing to provide that addiction to the fame lottery, right?
Yeah.
Because if I can give you that faster, if I'm TikTok, I'll outcompete Instagram. For the same video you would post to Instagram and you get 1,000 likes, if I can say, well, on TikTok, you'll get 10,000 likes, they're competing on how much they can give us this inflated sense of social approval. And again, I use these metaphors often to try to create that intentional disgust. So people just say, we don't want any of this. This isn't the system that we want to live by. So that we can actually look at a country like Taiwan, where you have an amazing human being who I think doesn't get any attention, Audrey Tang, who's the digital minister of Taiwan, and created an online democratic society, meaning a digital democratic society, using online tools that sorts our discourse for unlikely consensus. So instead of sorting by what gets the most clicks or what gets the most shares or what gets the most comments, what they sort their system by is when two people who would tend to disagree on topics, when they tend to converge and align, that's what gets upregulated in their sort of democratic feed.
Oh, unleash that.
And they have a transparent government process that has led to, I think the country has handled COVID better than almost any of the other countries. They have some of the fewest cases. And I really think people should go check out her work either on our podcast, Your Undivided Attention, or on the TED podcast. She has an amazing interview.
Does she speak English well? We would love to have her on. I don't speak Taiwanese, so.
Yeah, she's actually spent most of her life in the United States. She actually worked on Apple's Siri team.
Oh, okay.
And what she's doing is really a model for how do you battle disinformation, keeping in mind that Taiwan is also heavily under the threat of Chinese disinformation.
Yeah.
So they've really gone, through the gauntlet of intense threats and made it out saying, here is a model for a large country with millions of people, tens of millions of people, with not a homogeneous culture. There's different tribes and different languages, actually. And they've actually successfully created an online democratic model that works for the people, by the people, and of the people. And that's what we need to bring to the United States. And it's funny because this is one of those rare cases where, coming from Stanford and Silicon Valley, you would visit places abroad, and people would say, oh yeah, we see Silicon Valley, but we could never do that here in Nigeria, or we could never do that here in, Taiwan, or so, whatever. This is one of those weird things where when I tell you about this example of Taiwan, you might be thinking, oh, we could never do that here in the United States.
Sure.
But we have to prove that it's possible. And I actually think that, maybe I don't think the Trump administration would really do this. I say this nonpartisanly, but I think, this would be a great thing if a Biden administration were to take hold to really say, how do we modernize our democracy to have a safe, secure, nationally protected digital democratic environment where we don't downgrade our collective citizenry. We don't downgrade our attention spans, our mental health, our attention seeking, our narcissism, our polarization. We actually realize what happened and we reverse course. I think that's the most optimistic hope that I have that we could do from here on out.
Last two questions, I promise. Thanks for all your time. One is, I'm also, again, as I guess I'd pat myself on the back and say a realist about the market. We're also talking about taking away one of the most explosive and wealth creating and successful sectors of American ingenuity and export. So it is a little scary to think about pulling back what these companies make and what wealth they create, which of course disseminates all throughout our country. That seems a little scary just from a financial point of view.
Yeah, well, I think the inconvenient truth here, which is actually why that was a great title for that film, is when we build an economic system that profits from the very problems that we want to eliminate from our society.
It's untenable.
Yeah, this was also true in history where if there's a great book called Bury the Chains by Autumn Hochschild about the ending of slavery in the British Empire. Because back then, the entire world economy was powered by slavery.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you wake up one day and have the very obvious insight that this is inhumane and wrong, what do you do when 75% of the world economy is coupled with something you cannot decouple with? Well, an inspiring story is this book, Bury the Chains, speaks to how over something like 60 years, the British Empire dropped its GDP 2% per year over 60 years to decouple its economy from slavery. And it did that without a civil war. And it did that by networking with the Quakers in the US and different groups and testimony and pioneering many of the kind of activism techniques that are now being used in the climate movement and many other movements. And I think that book offers a kind of blueprint for, hey, we've done this before. Yeah. We've actually had a situation where our economy was directly tied, not making moral equivalence terms here about the content of what harms we're talking about.
No, I think you're saying that Mark Zuckerberg is a slave owner. We heard you loud and clear, and that'll be the headline, hopefully, that accompanies this interview.
In the clickbait model of the attention economy that they have created, that is the exact headline they would probably create off of this more nuanced interview. But I think that offers a blueprint for, hey, humanity, we've done this before.
Yeah, I'm a pessimist, and yet I also can recognize that every time we think we can't get off of horse and buggy production, the car comes along, and then we can't get off of this. We always find a way to stay busy, and we always find a way to feed ourselves, and it's only gotten better and better despite all these hurdles. Now, see, this is my last question because I just had a real juicy argument with my friend Eric because I'm in favor of many of the videos they've pulled off YouTube. And he, coming from more of a right perspective, is like, well, yes. So basically, all of this forward movement, what you would consider would be good, would generally just be liberal kind of progressive thought, in that we would be really just mostly policing against QAnon and all these things that, of course, I find repugnant. And so he has a point. There's an unavoidable point that, yes, I probably think some videos should stay that he would disagree with and vice versa. There probably would be a liberal bent to all this, wouldn't it? If I'm on the right, I might think, well, yeah, I'm going to leave it to Tristan, who I'm certain is going to vote for Biden. So really all you guys are asking for is for us to let you on the left decide what we can all view. Is there a nonpartisan argument for this or a reassurance you can give?
Yeah, well, I think the challenge we're facing here on content moderation is a crisis of trust. So who do you trust to make decisions about what can or can't be broadcasted to millions of people? Do you trust Mark Zuckerberg, the individual, to do that? Do you trust low-paid content moderators in Arizona, paid minimum wage, to do that? Do you look at the psychological sweatshops in the Philippines that do content moderation to trust, determine what is actionable content to try to take down? We don't have a clean answer to this problem. And that's kind of the Frankenstein aspect, is that when you have systems that are blasting off dangerous content rockets for exponential scale, and as I said, if you have the power of gods, you have to have the wisdom, love, and prudence of gods. You can't be Zeus and accidentally bump your elbow and scorch half of Earth if you don't have a moral compass and good guidance. So I think the problem is we've created the means by which dangerous, viral, and intentionally malicious and kind of conspiracy influence campaigns can actually outcompete truth, and we don't have a way of adjudicating it. So the current standard that platforms use when it comes to foreign manipulation is something called coordinated inauthentic behavior. Because oftentimes what Russia or China or someone will do, or Iran, they won't create a new influence campaign. They'll actually just find, let's say, a Texas secessionist. They'll say, hey, there's this group of Texas secessionists. Those are U.S. free speech protected individuals.
Yeah.
They've already got a group, but we're going to dial up the free speech folks, up the Texas secessionist folks, and we're going to dial down the let's everybody get together and make this work folks. And just by changing the dials, it's not really about who speaks, it's around who gets heard, which is the point of the attention economy.
Yeah.
That freedom of speech is not the same as freedom to reach millions of people.
Well, that's what I was arguing with Eric. I'm like, that you don't have a right to be on a company's feed. You just don't. No more than you have a right to put a billboard of your political point of view on my home. There are barriers all over the place. The only thing you're protected from is that the government will not limit your speech and that you can walk out in the street and say whatever you want. But there is no constitutional right to be involved in other people's platforms. That's just not free speech. That has nothing to do with that.
Yeah. And, we're in this difficult situation where after a foreign actor will meddle in a local group and stir up a culture war, once that culture war has started, they don't have to continue. The culture war now exists, right? So now your country is fighting itself on its own accord, and I can slowly, walk into the background and leave the situation, and you're still fighting. And I think that's actually what's dangerous, and why I think awareness is so critical, is we have to ask how much of the polarization and conflict in our society is because we would naturally walk outside and hate each other and fight each other, and how much is that we have been 10 years in now through this mass warping of our social psyche, where we see each other with less compassion and less common humanity because social media has polarized us so deeply into a narrower and narrower, more certain view of our own view.
I sound like a broken record when I do this, but I feel it's so important to always bring this up, which is it's very easy because the headline getters are Pizzagate and QAnon and Wayfair. But make no mistake, if you're on the left and you're liberal and progressive, the Russians were creating fake protests that were attended by people on the left too. Their only desire is conflict. They don't necessarily have a position. They want discord. That's what their incentive is. So you on the left are every bit as susceptible and being steered deeper into the left as is the right.
Can I give even one more example
Please.
to confirm what you're talking about?
Yeah.
The director of the film, The Social Dilemma, his previous two films, he's an environmentalist. His previous two films were about the coral die-offs in the Great Barrier Reef and Chasing Ice, which is about the melting glaciers up north. And he found out in the research for the film that one of the groups that Russia targeted was actually U.S. pro-environmentalist groups that were anti-fracking. And that Russia was specifically trying to dial up the reach of anti-fracking groups. Why? Because what happens if U.S. anti-fracking groups are successful and we don't frack for oil locally?
We have to buy from them.
That's right. And Russia's basically an oil company posing as a country. And that is totally in their interest. And so this speaks to the fact that, many of the things that he has shared and retweeted, he said, that were anti-fracking could have very easily come from Russia. And again, so that people really understand this is not a partisan conversation. There's many more countries that are in the game now because this is the new means of geopolitical warfare. It's information warfare. It's incredibly cheap. And we're seeing now Iran, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Israel, and China, and many other countries that are now in the game.
And for me, I guess the one check valve I encourage people to have is the moment you've consumed something and your opponent is now not human in your eyes, or they are evil, or they are a demon, you've probably passed your point of view and been firmly anchored in us, them, and there's no going forward once you're there. Once it's them and you're us, I think that's the thing people need to monitor is after they've consumed something, if their ire towards the opposition is irrational and the people are no longer human, I think that's a good warning flag for you.
I think a good measure there is think back in your life to anything that you felt certain about. That there was earlier beliefs that you had a very sharp view and that you don't believe anymore. I think that's a good anchor feeling to really lock onto, because for any of us to be certain and not be curious and open-minded and trusting, because one of the hidden factors here is not just having access to good information, it's actually being able to trust new information when it comes in. Because right now, you could tell people, on the left about something bad that Biden did, but if they're pro-Biden, they don't even trust the information if it's negative towards Biden. And the same thing is true on the right? And that's where we've lost it if we're not even willing to update.
Are you in a relationship?
I am.
Yeah, okay, great. So I hope you've had this experience. We have kids, so it's like, let's just say, Tylenol is not bad for kids. My wife, yes, it is. So I'll search, is Tylenol not harmful for kids? And she searches, is Tylenol, right? And by George, we both are vindicated. Almost every debate we have, Monica and I too, we get in these debates, in the manner in which we search, we get exactly what we were hoping for.
That's such a good example. If you type in climate change is not real, you'll get a bunch of results. If you type in climate change is real, you'll get a bunch of results. And the point is that there's infinite people arguing on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we really need is discernment and almost like a more lasting score of who are the most trustworthy dialectic thinkers who are doing synthesis, who are proving they can steelman the other side.
Yes.
They actually know the other arguments and they can speak in terms of a dialectic of giving power to both sides and then trying to offer synthesis. And imagine if our news feeds were ranked for synthesis level speakers instead of who got the most outrage, instead of winning with black and white thinking, which is how it works today.
It's so desirable from our point of view, and it is something that we desperately hope to be doing at all times on here, which is like making a real, honest, sincere argument for your opponent. And in doing that, I guarantee you'll find more empathy, sympathy, and understanding because you're forced to make it. And then trust. Yeah. And then they will trust you more. And if they can give you that same courtesy, you will trust them more. Monica, you were just about to say
I was just going to say, and the synthesis model is actually the antidote to the left-right situation you were bringing up. They're not only going to be able to take down right stuff because it's going to be the middle ground stuff that rises to the top.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And transcendent thinking. So, is Biden, if he favors a climate change sort of deal going against the fracking, that's done in Pennsylvania? Yes, we have to make sure that we have a real answer. You can't have just a pro-environment, anti-fracking position. You need a thing that protects, but we also don't just want the pro-fracking people who are going to ruin the environment. We need to make sure that we find a synthesis of how do we care for jobs, the environment, children, air quality, all at the same time, and put all the values on the chalkboard and say, what's a solution that gets us all of these things, as opposed to winning by polarizing and gerrymandering people into predefined belief groups that allows you to win elections.
Yes, and another thing I would want people to immediately admit to themselves that any one of these very, very hard topics that are being addressed on a governmental level or any kind of level, at best, the best option is going to be 60% versus a 40%. This I'm right and you're wrong almost doesn't exist in any of these complex conversations. There isn't a fracking's right or wrong. There's a sliding percentage of versus what? How much shit are we buying from Russia? How many oligarchs are we empowering? How many
foreign wars do we have to start to make sure we secure our oil supply?
Yes, so every issue is so incredibly complicated in a very stimulating way. I mean, that's what I love about it. But anyone who thinks that they have a position that is 100% accurate, they're being naive, I think. I love you. Also, you're a fucking hero, man. The first few times I heard you, I didn't understand the full scope of what you were talking about. And you're really kind of, if not among the vanguards who are really helping us understand the outcome of this 10-year-long experiment. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart. When I think of my children, I'm grateful that there's someone like you.
Oh, well, thank you both so much. It's really, really a great conversation. I really hope people hold on to some hope as well that we can change this system. I think of it like a body that doesn't know that it's eating itself. If only one neuron wakes up, the body doesn't stop eating itself. But if all the neurons wake up,
Yeah.
then we can stop eating ourselves. And I think the thing that gives me hope is with this film, The Social Dilemma, and something like 40 to 50 million people having seen it. That's, how big was the civil rights movement? How big was the gay rights movement? We actually have a constituency that if enough people see what we've talked about for the last hour and a half, we can actually solve this problem. And that's what gives me some hope. Is I wish I could turn my inbox inside out so people could see just how common the feeling that we need to change this is.
Yeah.
And the question is, how do we harness that? And that's what we're trying to do, with our work at the Center for Humane Technology.
I was just going to say, so if people want to support the great work you're doing, I imagine Center for Humane Technology is a nonprofit?
Yeah, we're building a movement, the Center for Humane Technology. It's a nonprofit, and we're trying to create a story bank of ways that people can share their own stories so the movement can see itself, so that everybody can see everyone else's stories. Please go to humanetech.com and you can get involved in various ways there, along with we have another podcast called Your Undivided Attention that dives into some of the topics that are in the film too.
So listen to Your Undivided Attention and go to humanetech.com. And
that's right.
Either watch some stories, share a story, donate some money. And
Watch Social Dilemma if you haven't. It sounds like you probably already have.
If you're listening to this, odds are you probably have. But yes, please go to all these places. And I commit right now to go to those places and start helping. So thank you so much, Tristan.
Thank you both so much. Really my pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank
I hope we
you.
talk again with better news.
With better news. I'm sorry if this was
No.
I'm really sensitive to how dark it gets. It's just that I
No.
want people to see it. Because
No.
the bigger the pain, the bigger the motivation. So it's like just show people.
It is not hyperbolic to say minimally the seeds have been planted for a civil war. Now, I do not believe there'll be a civil war, but the seeds are in the ground. There's no question.
I think in my way of seeing this, that the film is meant to be a big pause button as we were trending in that direction. Not that the film is going to stop people from that if that's bound to happen, but it's a kind of metacognitive perch that lets everybody climb up and say, look what's happened to us. Don't go that way. That's going to happen if you do that. That's not what we want. And my biggest hope is just that, it's hopefully contributing a little bit to cooling off some of those tensions. We had some people say actually that instead of watching the presidential debates for 90 minutes, they found for their family members, they had a better conversation by watching with their family they couldn't agree with, watch The Social Dilemma for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And that was a better use of kind of healing some of the divides why they couldn't talk to each other.
I agree. I think we can all see ourselves in that documentary. I know I can. All right. Well, again, thank you
All right,
so
awesome.
much.
Thank
All right,
you.
Take care.
Thank you both. Really great to meet you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Take care.
Bye.
And now my favorite part of the show, the fact check with my soulmate, Monica Padman.
We are supported by HP. If you're a parent or you know one, like I do, or you can help take care of kids, you already know what August feels like. It's not summer anymore, it's the pregame. The supplies list, the forms, the we need this printed by tomorrow texts that come in at 9 p.m. And I say this as someone who's been on the receiving end of those texts in a former life. You're ready to help, and then the printer says no, out of ink, blinking at you, useless. It's such a small thing, but it will absolutely derail your night. So when I heard about the HP Smart Tank printer from HP, America's most trusted printer brand, I thought this is the kind of thing that actually makes life easier, not in a big flashy way, in a one less crisis way. Instead of those little cartridges that run out the second you need them, the HP Smart Tank uses refillable ink tanks, and it comes with up to 3 years of ink included. 3 years. That's 3 back-to-school seasons without the cartridge panic. HP can't fill out the forms for you, but they can make sure the printer is never the reason you're up past midnight. Search HP Smart Tank.
Oh, toe record.
Toe record.
You're getting so advanced at your job that you can now activate our recorder with your toes.
I know. I'm very dexterous
Oh.
in my toe regions.
Oh. Phalanges dexteritas.
Don't look too closely because my toenail looks weird right now.
Oh, it does? Why? Because it's grown out a little bit?
No, because it started to break, so I have to break one half off. So now there's a point. There's a stupid point at the end.
You know what's interesting about looking at your foot? Like, you look like a puppy upstairs, generally, like a young puppy. And then your foot looks like a woman's foot. Like that looks
Really?
that looks like a woman's foot.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Like a mom's foot? Is that what you mean?
No. Oh, just a
Like
woman's.
a lady's foot.
Yeah, like if I were younger and I was at the pool at a hotel and I saw a woman, maybe she's got a martini glass and a cigarette with a cigarette holder.
Oh my God.
And like a pinup style bathing suit from the 50s, high waisted. That might be the foot.
All
attached.
Okay. If you had a foot fetish, would you like it?
Of course. Well, actually, I cannot even really comprehend the foot fetish thing. So
Really?
I wouldn't even, it's hard for me to guess.
Interesting.
Like, I have no opinion on what feet I like. Like,
Right.
you could just keep bringing them past me and I go, yeah, that's nice, or that's not nice. But I couldn't give you criteria for what's nice and not nice.
Well, we have a friend who I won't out who has a foot fetish.
Oh.
He has a foot
d-
fetish.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, you didn't
oh my
know
God,
that?
do you ever catch him like perving out at your feet
He
at the
told me
pool?
I had beautiful feet.
Oh, did you feel good or scared?
I felt good since he has a foot fetish.
And he's an aficionado.
Yes, since he
Uh-huh.
knows a lot about feet and what's attractive and what's not, and he liked mine.
Oh, wow. Whose doesn't he like? Mine, obviously.
He didn't tell me. He didn't say I don't like this person's foot, all right.
Okay.
He wasn't mean about it. He just said I had beautiful feet, and he knows all of our shoe sizes.
Oh, my God. Now, do you ever catch him staring like at your feet when we're all swimming?
I've never caught him, but we were swimming when he told me I had beautiful feet.
And you probably catch people looking at your boobs sometimes, right?
No, what's weird? I mean, I know people are.
Yeah.
But I'm never catching someone.
Okay, locked in.
Yeah.
Target locked.
I think people do a good job of not just like staring,
Uh-huh.
gawking. They just take a quick glance, probably.
Have you caught any of the gals staring at them? So I would imagine the girls are just as prone to probably lock in on them.
For sure.
Maybe even more so. Like if I could see a big bulge in Charlie or Ryan's bathing suit, I'm probably on it longer than any of the females.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not very observant, so maybe everyone's staring.
You don't have the greatest eyesight, as we've discussed too. So maybe you just when you look, you just see a blur, and you can't really
That's
pinpoint
true.
where the eyes are.
I don't really see eyes.
Can you tell what I'm staring at right now?
My eyes.
Your kneecap.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that.
Really?
Yeah, let's
Oh
do
my
it again.
God. Oh my God. This is real.
Okay, I'm gonna close my eyes and you look somewhere else. Can I open?
Yeah. Action.
My phone.
No. Well.
My
not-
knee here?
Yeah. I switched
Oh.
kneecaps.
Oh wow.
I'm trying to keep this as clean as possible. Because like if I'm staring at your elbow, everyone knows your elbow is roughly in on the same latitude as your boobs. So people will be like, "Get real! You're gonna stare at her elbow?" Quote quote quote.
Oh.
and so I'm really
that's
trying to be
fair.
somewhere very safe. So your knee in this example, and I might go, "Oh, I got one."
Shoulder.
Yep, boom.
Wow, I got good at this game quick.
Yep. Now I've had a big development. I've virtually defected. It's like I have a new nationality now.
Yeah, tell people.
Oh God. I hate to say this because I was so proud of my resilience. I've switched to an iPhone.
You have.
I've switched to an
Welcome
iPhone.
to the club.
To the cult. It's
I'm
definitely
gonna
a cult.
call it a club.
Okay.
The reason I don't call it a cult is because it's the majority. It's not like a faction. It's like everyone has an iPhone.
I agree. But there are militant members of the group
That's
that are
true.
almost in a cult. Like Ryan. Ryan will tell you within 61 days when the next product's coming out.
Oh, wow.
And he's already got plans to get it. Like he already has the 12 and so does Amy.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, like he's the first person to have it. So he's kind of on the cult end of the spectrum, I'd say, of the group.
Okay.
So primarily I got it because my children lose the Apple TV remotes. They just, I think I've complained about this before, but we have 6 of them. And at any given time, the whereabouts of one is known.
Yeah.
And it'll show up somewhere crazy, like the laundry room. So now you got to go around to all 6 and see which one it works with.
Oh,
such a
that
pain in
is
the neck.
annoying. Yes.
And
I
so-
would be annoyed too.
My only defense against that has been I can pull my iPacs out and control the Apple TV with my iPacs. I don't want to fucking lug around my iPacs all the time when I want to watch telly. So I was thinking, I just got to have a remote in my pocket. That's really what drove this entire thing.
Wow.
And receiving videos from you guys who are in the cult. Because so many times you guys make, you got great videos and you text them to Kristen or I, and we can't see shit. It's the lowest grade video you can imagine. We can't tell what's going on. We can hear and then some shadows. Kind of like when you're looking to see if people are looking at your honkers.
Wow.
It's just a shadow.
So what you're seeing is what I see in normal life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
And I'm sick of that.
yeah.
But I got to say, Samsung, great product. Really, I'm going to miss my S10 so much.
You are, because you're still kind of hanging on. You're carrying around 2 phones now.
Currently I do. I have my S10 on the armrest of the Lazy Boy, and my new iPhone, which I need to come up with a name for, is in my groin. On my belly
on your
button.
belly. Yeah. You know, I have a fear.
Okay.
I have a fear on behalf of your iPacs.
Okay.
I have a feeling you're not going to be spending any more time on that iPacs, and you abandon your son, and you replaced your son with a new baby, and that baby
cuter,
is
slimmer
cuter
baby.
and smaller and more efficient and funnier.
Wait,
And
it's funnier?
So I think it's going to be sad.
Well, that's a very realistic concern to have for the Pax, my son.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you right now, like I'm going to the dunes in a few days, right?
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll bring the Pax
Yep.
and I'll lay in bed at night and I'll watch Netflixy in the motorhome
Okay.
on the Paxy. So I'll still watch a lot of content. Or when I'm here in the attic and you're not here.
You watch TV when I'm not here? Oh,
I
I'm
do.
jealous.
But you've watched TV with me in here before. We watched
Only
a lot
during
of,
the election.
Yeah.
'Cause that was a crucial time.
we kept that on like a ticker tape. We just had that on in the background.
That's how my family has
Their life.
that's literally their life. They just have CNN or MSNBC on in the background of their life, always.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that makes them feel safe,
Mm-hmm.
even though it should make them feel very scared because it's just updates of calamity across the globe.
When I'm home for Christmas and I come back, I'm there for like 2 weeks, and I have never, it's the most informed I am the whole year.
Oh, okay.
I know everything.
And you try to carry that. But don't you
And I
find,
don't.
and don't they find, like, at times when I try to watch that, it's just the same
It is.
fucking thing for 14 hours. That's what's maddening. It's like you have all these different hosts and programs, but they talk about the exact same thing.
It is.
I don't know how that interests anyone.
I know. But just in case,
Oh, it's the slot machine
It
circuitry
is.
in our head.
It is.
Ding, ding, ding. Tristan Harris.
Oh my God. Good ding, ding, ding.
What a great segue that was.
He is, I mean, it's too hard because we have so many brilliant guests, but the way his brain works is
Freakish.
astonishing. Yeah.
We should give him, instead of like, because, we're always tempted to say someone's the smartest person we talk to, and that's just becoming
We
inefficient.
can't do that. Yeah.
I'm going to say he's a freak.
No.
That's not good? No, like he's freakishly smart.
People don't like to be called freaks.
Oh, they don't?
No.
What about Freaks and Geeks?
Yeah, that was a negative.
Wouldn't you love to have been on Freaks and Geeks?
Of course.
Yeah, and be known forever as one of the freaks or geeks.
I would have.
Yeah, so
But-
I bet Tristan would as well.
Mm,
A freak on the dance floor. That's a big
well,
compliment.
that's good.
Yeah.
Or
A freak between
in
the sheets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone wants to be called a
Okay.
freak between the sheets.
That's true.
He's a freak between the ears.
It's so great that he is devoted to this
No
cause.
shit.
Because
Yeah, because he certainly walked away. Well, actually, I don't know his finances, but my assumption is he walked away from a pile of money, being as smart as he is in that industry.
I agree.
Maybe he's still like a genius investor, though.
I hope so.
Yeah. I hope he's rich.
I hope he's a freak investor.
I hope he's a freak in the streets. I hope he's a freak in the Wall Streets and a freak in the sheets. No, I hope he's a freak in the Wall Streets and a geek in the sheets.
Why?
I don't know, because you got to change the word.
What do you think a geek in the sheets is like?
I think he's
Fetishes?
meticulous about your anatomy,
Oh,
your,
that's
your
lovely.
honkers and your ding ding.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to start listing some facts now. So, first fact. Did they have a Charles Schultz ice skating rink in Santa Rosa? I don't know.
I know for sure there was.
Okay, and was
Yeah.
it at the Museum Research Center?
I don't know where it was located.
I'm going to guess it was there.
Okay.
There's a museum dedicated to the works of Charles Schultz, creator of the Peanuts comic strip. Opened in 2002 and is in Santa Rosa. The museum is home to many of the original Peanuts strips as well as other artwork by Schultz. 2 works by Japanese artists, whatever.
I mean, no offense to Japanese artists, just
Skipping
not
it.
relevant to Charles Schultz. I don't believe he was Japanese in any way.
Okay, there's a 3.5 ton wood sculpture depicting the evolution of Snoopy.
Oh.
And a 22-foot high ceramic mural made of 3,588 peanut strips, which combine to form the image of Lucy.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's from the Japanese artists. I guess they are relevant now.
Dang it. Okay. Yes, those are by Japanese artists.
Okay. That's
Japanese are really good at art.
Sure, I guess.
Many Japanese people are good at art. That's not fair to say. I'm not going to
It's
say
not.
that.
Yeah. It's the same as saying they're all bad at something.
All right, so
I can tell you what Japanese are bad at.
What?
Having blonde hair.
Okay, that's true.
They're not good at having blonde hair.
Well, they're not good at producing blonde hair.
That's right.
If they dye their hair blonde, it still looks good.
Good point. That's a really good point. Counterpoint. Oh, I have another one.
Oh,
Japanese are really, really bad at being born in China. Historically.
I guess majority of them are probably not good at being born in China.
Yeah.
But some are good at being born in China.
I know. There's been
Yeah.
plenty of Japanese people born in
Exactly.
China. Fuck.
Exactly.
I know one.
Okay.
The Japanese are terrible at flying. And I don't mean in an airplane. I mean individually.
Like a bird.
Yes.
Okay.
Although someone's going to say there's a Japanese person in a wingsuit. Fuck. This is hard. This is really hard.
I'm glad it's hard.
Okay.
Okay. The quiz from the New York Times that can pinpoint your exact zip code after asking 25 questions about your like word choice and stuff is called How Y'all Use and You Guys Talk.
Oh.
Should we try it?
Yeah, although what's going to be tricky is that, I've intentionally changed some of mine. Like I say y'all a lot because I think y'all's the best because often when I say you guys and there's women present or at one time it happened and a person had transitioned and to female and I said, hey guys, sorry I was late. And then I just panicked. I was like, oh boy.
Did it come up?
No, I don't think the person cared at all, but
Yeah.
I just panicked.
Okay.
And then I just thought,
understand
I'm going to get rid of guys because it's gender specific.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to go with y'all. And it rolls off the tongue for me.
that. Well, it's obviously rolls off the tongue for me.
Yeah. I wish you said it more. You don't say it very
I
often.
used to say it exclusively.
And you probably tried to break yourself of the habit when you came to Los
Probably
Angeles.
did. Or it just happened organically.
It's great. It's really useful. It's better than you guys.
You're right. I don't like that we're calling a bunch of girls you guys. It's kind of patriarchal.
Yeah.
Okay, let's play. Let's try.
Okay.
Okay, it's 25 questions.
Okay, great.
We'll do you first.
No, do you first.
No, let's do you first.
Okay.
Okay, how would you address a group of 2 or more people? First question, what we just talked about.
Well, I'm going to be honest.
Be honest, not what you've changed to.
Okay, you guys.
Do you want to hear the list, though?
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot. So
Okay.
maybe there's you all,
Uh-huh.
yous,
No, that's New Jersey.
you lot,
No.
you guys,
Yeah.
youans,
Oh, that's real deep south, maybe.
yins, you, other, y'all,
Okay.
you guys.
You guys.
Okay. What do you call the small gray bug that curls up into a ball when it's touched?
Roly-poly. Is that an option?
It is,
Okay.
yeah. Pill bug, doodle bug, potato bug, roly-poly, sow bug,
Huh.
basketball bug,
Ooh.
twiddle bug, roll-up bug, woodlouse, millipede, centipede. I know what this creature is, but have no word for it.
Ah,
I have no idea what this creature is. Other.
that could be telling. Maybe it doesn't exist in the Pacific Northwest.
Exactly. What do you call the thing from which you might drink water in a school?
Drinking fountain.
Options are bubbler, water bubbler, drinking fountain, water fountain, other.
Oh, wow.
This is so cool.
It is.
Okay. What do you call the large wild cat native to the Americas?
Cougar.
Okay. Mountain lion, cougar, puma, mountain cat, panther, catamount, mountain screamer, painter,
Mountain
other.
screamer? That's got to be Appalachia or something.
Mountain screamer.
Mountain screamer.
Paint-
Y'all hear that mountain screamer last night? Kept me up well past midnight. I didn't get a damn bit of shut-eye last night. That mountain screamer was hollering out the back of my door. I had to shut all the windows.
That's pretty good.
Thank you. Rare that you like my thing. I just passed the test.
I was proud that you also changed windows to windows.
I was busy doing some wash, and all of a sudden I hear this mountain yeller. What is it, a screamer?
Screamer.
Mountain screamer start yipping and yapping out in the back. I shut all the windows and shut down the wash.
What's a wersh?
Wash. When
Oh.
you're washing your clothes.
Okay, how do you pronounce this word? Crayon.
Crayon.
Okay. Say it again.
Crayon. Give me that blue crayon. Crayon, like C-R-A-N.
So are you saying it one syllable?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got a new box of crayons. We say new box of crayons, not crayons.
Crayons. But that's still kind of, okay, here are the options. With one syllable, rhymes with man.
Crayon. Yeah.
Oh, that's what you're saying, huh?
Mm-hmm.
With two syllables, sounds like crayon.
No.
With two syllables, where the second syllable rhymes with dawn.
Crayon. No.
Crayon.
Fuck that.
Oh, first one is crayon. Crayon. Oh, that's closer to what you're saying.
Yeah, crayon.
Sounds like crown.
No.
Okay, so you were one syllable rhymes with man. All right. What do you call it when rain falls when the sun is shining?
Devil's beating his wife. But I know that's from Kentucky because that's from my grandma.
It's on here. Oh my God. Oh my God. I did not expect that to be on here. Oh my God.
I'm glad it's on there.
Should I count it?
That's the only thing I know to call it.
Okay.
What are the options, though?
I would call it sun shower, I think. Let's see if.
Oh,
Okay, yep. Sun shower.
okay.
The wolf is giving birth.
Oh, wow.
The devil is beating his wife.
Yeah.
Monkey's wedding.
Ooh, I wish we said monkey's wedding.
I like that. Fox's wedding. Pineapple rain. Liquid sun. I have no term or expression for this or other.
Okay. If it weren't for my grandma, I don't think I'd have a term for it.
You
but
wouldn't?
I don't think so. But let's go with it anyways.
Okay.
See what it says.
It's going to be a anomaly.
Uh-huh.
What do you call a drive-through liquor store?
We don't have them.
I've never heard of such a thing. Okay.
Okay.
The other ones are brew-through, party barn, bootlegger, beer barn, beverage barn. We have these in my area, but have no special term for them, and I've never heard of such a thing.
You didn't have them in Georgia, did you?
I've never
No.
heard of that either. What do you call a traffic situation in which several roads meet in a circle?
Roundabout?
Okay. Rotary, roundabout, circle, traffic circus. I have no word for this other.
This is weird, though. They just added roundabouts to Michigan like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Now when I go home, I'm more often in a roundabout than on any other.
I don't like roundabouts personally.
People have a big issue. I see the people in Michigan, they're still adjusting to them. They're
Yeah.
like, they cannot figure out what's supposed to happen.
Okay. How do you pronounce the second syllable of this word? I'm going to spell it again because I don't want it to be.
Yeah, don't lead the witness.
Exactly. Pajamas.
Pajamas.
With the vowel in jam, with the vowel in palm. Jam. Okay. What do you call something that is across both streets from you at an intersection or diagonally across from you in general?
Kitty corner. Not catty corner. I hate catty
corner is mine.
Oh, I hate that.
I hate kitty corner. Okay, kitty corner, kitta corner, catter corner, catty corner. That's mine. Kitty cross, kitty wampus.
Ooh, scattywampus.
Did you know I said scattywampus during spades and Laura said that wasn't a word? She said it's cattywampus.
Uh-huh. I got it from a girl sketch in the Groundlings.
Oh, I got it from you.
Right.
So
It's a very catchy word,
It is.
scattywampus. I love it. I don't really give a fuck whether it existed prior.
Yeah.
Like the word we said the most in childhood, my brother and I, was bungie.
Oh,
And
for poop.
bungies, no, it's actually the buildup of poo in one's butt cheeks.
Okay. Yep.
And so that's not a word, but we used it the most, and I love it, bungie. Like if you saw someone scratching their butt, you'd go, oh boy, that guy's got bungie. And when we were kids, we were always on bungie patrol.
I feel like I've heard bungie butt.
We never said bungie butt. We just said bungie
Okay.
or bungee.
I wonder if it's on this list.
Okay. What do you
Okay.
call a buildup of excrement in the butt cheeks?
What do you call the insect that flies around in the summer and glows in the dark?
Lightning bug.
Lightning bug, firefly. I use lightning bug and firefly interchangeably.
Yeah.
Peony Wally.
No.
I have no word for this other. Do you want me? You said lightning bug quick, but do you want me to?
We also say fireflies.
You want me to do interchangeable?
I think so.
Okay.
I think that'd be most honest.
How do you pronounce this word? B-E-E-N.
I've been mad that B-I-N.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
With the vowel in sit. With the vowel in C. Bean.
No.
With the vowel in set. Ben. How have you been? How have you been? Yeah.
How you
Interesting.
been? How you been? Yeah, it's
Your
more Ben.
eye,
Yeah,
yeah.
I.
What do you call an easy high school or college class?
An easy high school or college class. Basket weaving.
No. Okay, like the options are gut, crypt course, crip course, bird, Blow off, meat, or other.
Meat or other? I guess blow off would be the only one I've heard in that list. Yeah, it's a blow off class. Yeah. It's basket weaving. That's what my family said.
What do you mean?
Well, it was like an easy A, basket weaving. And back in the, I guess, 60s, maybe they offered it when my parents went to high school. You could take basket weaving. If you can't get a fucking A in basket weaving, you're a real
that's
bozo.
so funny. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
chimpanzee can weave.
I bet I wouldn't be very good at it.
You get an A. You got an A in everything.
Well, how do you pronounce the words? There's 3 of them.
Oh, boy.
Capital M-A-R-Y.
Mary.
Okay. M-E-R-R-Y.
Mary.
And M-A-R-R-Y.
Mary.
Okay, you pronounce them all the same.
Yes.
Okay. All 3 are pronounced the same. All 3 are pronounced differently. M-A-R-Y and M-E-R-R-Y are pronounced the same, but M-A-R-R-Y is different.
Oh.
Okay, there's all those things.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the distinction between dinner and supper?
We say dinner, but I purposely say supper now.
So should I say I don't use the word supper because
Yeah.
you do, but you didn't, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Supper is an evening meal. Dinner is eaten earlier. Supper is an evening meal. Dinner is the main meal. Dinner takes place in a more formal setting than supper. There's no distinction. They both have the same meaning. I don't use the word supper. I don't use the word dinner.
Okay.
What do you call the area of grass in the middle of some streets?
Median.
Boulevard, midway, traffic island, neutral ground. I have no word for this. Median or other.
Oh, good. I'm always relieved when the word I say is on the list. Yeah. And have you, so far, yours have all been there?
Yeah. What do you call the long sandwich that contains cold cuts, lettuces, and so on?
I know a lot of words for it. I'm going to try to think of what would be most
Your
natural.
original, yeah.
There's hoagie, foot long, Dagwood. I love Dagwood. Probably a foot long. Is that an option? Or hoagie would be next.
Footlong is not because sometimes they're only 6 inches.
Yeah.
So hoagie.
I guess hoagie.
Okay. Sub. That's mine.
Oh.
Sub. It's sub, grinder, hoagie.
Oh, I've heard grinder.
Really? I've never
Yeah.
heard that one. Hoagie. Hero.
Oh, yeah, hero.
That's a thing too?
Yeah, that's a thing. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Poor boy.
Oh.
Bomber.
Ooh, a bomber.
Italian sandwich. Baguette. Sarnie. I have no word for this other.
Okay, let's start calling them bombers.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds fun. Well, I'd go for a bomber.
And then monkey fucking. What was it? Monkey wedding. Monkey's
Monkey
wedding.
marriage.
Okay, how do you pronounce the first syllable of the word L-A-W-Y-E-R?
Lawyer. I hired a lawyer. Lawyer.
Loy. So rhymes with boy.
Yeah.
There's also rhymes with flaw,
Okay.
and I use both pronunciations.
This is a long test.
I know. We're almost kind of done. What do you call the night before Halloween?
Devil's Night. There's only one name for the night before Halloween.
Gate night, trick night, mischief night, cabbage night, goosey night, devil's night, devil's eye. I have no word for this other. I would say I have no word for this.
Okay. What are y'all doing for Cabbage Night? That doesn't sound very
Wait, was
sinister.
it cabbage? Cabbage?
Yeah, that's what you just
Oh my
said.
God.
Cabbage Night.
Oh my God.
What are you guys doing on Cabbage Night? Oh, well, duh. We're making soup.
Do you call the sweet spread that is put on a cake frosting or icing?
Frosting.
Frosting, and icing refer to different things, both, neither, other. What do you call the rubber-soled shoes worn in gym class or
Sneakers.
for athletic events? Sneakers.
You too?
Sneakers, shoes, gym shoes, gym shoes, sand shoes, jumpers, tennis shoes. That's what my...
Yeah, tennis shoes. That's what we would say.
Okay. so
Way more than whatever
sneakers?
I said. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
tennis shoes.
tennis shoes
Grab
for
your
me
tennis
too.
shoes. Yep.
Running shoes, runners, trainers. How do you pronounce Caramel?
Oh, caramel.
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 Okay, so 2 syllables, caramel.
Not caramel.
That's how I say
Probably
it.
not. Really?
Yeah.
It sounds so fancy
Caramel.
to me. It sounds like
Oh,
hoity-toity. It sounds bougie. Bougie.
Do you pronounce the word COT and CAUGHT the same?
I got caught. No. Aw. Caught. Caught.
So you pronounce them differently.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you pronounce them the same?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He caught me. Pull out the cot.
Pull out the quat.
What do you call the area of grass between the sidewalk and the road?
Area of grass between the sidewalk and the road. What are some options?
Berm, parking, tree lawn, terrace, curb strip, beltway, verge. I have no word for this.
I don't
other.
think I have a word for that.
Okay. Last question. What would you call a sale of unwanted items on your porch, in your yard, etc.?
Well, now I'm so fucked with the last 25 years in LA, but I think a garage sale.
Me, I would have said garage sale too.
Yeah.
Okay, tag sale, yard sale, garage sale, rummage sale, thrift sale, stoop sale, carport sale, sidewalk sale, jumble sale, car boot sale.
What's jumble? That's got to be like New Orleans or something.
I don't know.
I wish I could do a good one.
Okay, I'm going to submit you.
All right, I'm going to try to practice an Cajun accent.
Holy shit, Detroit!
No, I
Wait.
did it.
Wait. Yeah, okay, so it has a map of most similar, least similar.
Okay.
And then it has, these maps show your most distinctive answer for each of these cities. Detroit, Grand Rapids. So it got it.
Wow.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
It's like it didn't give me a zip code, but it's crazy.
It didn't give you a zip code, but still.
It's still crazy.
I'm still crazed.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Guys,
wow.
try that quiz.
Yeah.
How interesting.
Or do you think they got so bored during ours? They're like, I don't want anything to do with that quiz.
I hope that they did it in their own head,
Me
but then they don't
too.
get their answer. That's why they need to go do it also on their
Yeah.
own.
So I hope you wrote down your answers so you can do it quickly.
Exactly.
Anything else you can tell me about myself?
No.
Okay.
No.
Lots of fear of financial insecurity. Does it say that?
You talked about happiness metrics and how Sweden is ranked #1 country in happiness. First, right now, is Finland.
Oh, okay.
Then Denmark, Norway, Iceland, and the Netherlands. Right now.
Mm-hmm.
How many languages are there in Ethiopia? Tristan thought maybe 5. I saw a figure that said 86 individual languages indigenous to Ethiopia.
Oh, boy. Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot. How long did Johnson & Johnson take Tylenol off the shelves back in the day when it was being poisoned and tampered with? I can't find an amount of time, but they did take 31 million bottles. One of the first major recalls in American history. It was in the Chicago metropolitan area. 7 individuals died.
Ooh.
Extra strength Tylenol that had been deliberately laced with cyanide.
Oh, my God. I cannot, of the many layers of murderers I can't really relate to, it's in descending order, right? Like a guy who catches a guy sleeping with his wife and loses his mind and kills it. That seems like, okay, yeah,
That could happen.
yeah, onward and downward. Even serial killer is now before this person. Like to just randomly poison some things and
know.
you'll never see
The results of
Yeah,
it.
it seems very weird.
It is weird.
Yeah. It's kind of like, no, it's a bad analogy. I'm going to ditch it. I was going to say like if you had a button and you could blow up a star that you would never see. Why even do it? Just say you do it. Oh, I blew up a star, I guess. They tell me when I hit this button, the star will blow up. But I don't know.
Well, I'm sure this person follows the news.
The news.
And then is like happy in their
But there's a
little
good chance
basement.
there was a good chance that that's not even going to be detected.
I know that was the big risk. That's part of the joy
cannot.
they get when it does.
I don't understand it.
I'm glad you don't understand it.
Yeah.
It means you don't have the mind of a killer.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, see, some of the aspects of killing, I understand. Like, I wouldn't do it, but I understand, like, I understand feeling inferior and wanting to be smarter than everyone and prove that you could do something and not get caught. I understand that motivation. I wouldn't kill to do that, but I understand that. Like, oh, I want to prove I'm smarter than everyone. Do you?
I mean,
Conceptually, you understand
yes,
it?
conceptually I can understand it. I think that there's so much, I mean, they're so entitled.
Yeah. Well, that's terrible. It's terrible.
I hate murders.
Don't say that.
I can stand firm on that. I hate murders. Oh my goodness.
Oh my God. Was that everything?
That was everything for Tristan.
Oh man, I really enjoyed him. And boy, oh boy, I think the tipping point has happened because of that movie and a few other things. I feel like people are really starting to broadly understand the risks of all this technology, which is encouraging. And I think we're going to see some governmental regulations that are going to help curb it. And I regret now when I said to Bill Gates, do you find it ridiculous that these folks who have created these amazing things have to sit in front of a Senate subcommittee and some assholes saying his email gets bounced back when he sends it to his son.
Right. But it's important regulation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I regret it.
All right. That's a big thing to admit.
Well, I'm admitting it. Now, if you excuse me, I'm going to play on my iPhone. TBD, it's a name.
You could call it a iPhone, but sounds kind of racist.
How about morning, I pony, you rhyming my pony.
So you're gonna call it iPony?
Yeah, I pony. I think I am. I pony.
Okay,
By the way,
I
if
like
anyone
that.
has not heard the Leon Bridges version of Pony,
my God.
it is.
Second time we've talked about Leon Bridges. We
Oh.
love him.
We love him. Should he come on?
I would love it.
Do you think though he'd talk to us on one of those steel microphones and it'd sound like 60s distorted the way his music does?
I hope.
Well, that'd be cool. It'd be kind of like we were time travel interview.
Yeah.
Like we have an interview from the 60s today.
Queen's Gambit.
Oh my gosh.
Ding ding ding.
I love you.
Okay, bye.